Army of Spies. Good morning, good day, and good evening. How'd you guys like today? Did you love it? We got somebody saying hello from France. That's great. Where's everybody from? Where's everybody from on the live stream today? JB says, "Hey, dude." Raphael says, "Today was awesome." I agree. Today was awesome. Today was amazing. Mamin X says, "From Mexico, Massachusetts, Cape Town, UK, New Zealand, Chicago, New York City, Germany, Arizona, London, Vietnam." My mom's house, Texas, Rockville, Maryland, Brooklyn. Awesome. Okay, awesome. How's the Idaho? We got a planty daddy in the spy house. Yes, there are plants here. There are plants in this house. Yes. East Coast, Amsterdam, Danville, Belgium, Malaysia, Saudi Arabia. Awesome. Amsterdam, Ukraine, Pennsylvania. Oahu. Yep. I figured you were in Hawaii, Nikki, based on your 8 p.m. time zone. San Diego, India, Australia. Okay, great. We have people from all over the world. Today was a day where we saw lobster business, ghost busting, smart contracts, a tuxedo, and lots of celebratory drinks. It was a historic day for Cardano. Who watched? Did everybody watch the IOHK watch party? Did you guys watch the epic turnover? I think a lot of people did, just based on the numbers in that live stream. Somebody says, "I didn't realize I was talking to a space traveler." Awesome. Yep, it's true. It's true. Umar says, yes, he did watch it. Okay, yeah, I think most people watched it. So we learned a little bit today. I think a big part of this channel has been sort of erasing asymmetries of information. That's been one of the big parts of the Army of Spies project, going all the way back to the actual DApp project. And I think we learned a little bit today. There's still quite a bit about Cardano that I think we'll learn at the Cardano Summit. Who's going to attend the Cardano Summit? There's a bunch of local Cardano Summit meetups. Who's going to attend a Cardano Summit meetup? I wish I could. Time Alchemist says, I'm in. Flower Child says, I'll be there. Create the Imaginable says, me. Patrick says, virtually, I think. Zayani says, I don't think there's one in Singapore. Astro Jungle says, I'm down if it comes to Los Angeles. Andrew Wild's going to Wyoming. Okay, good. Lots of people are going. I think that's going to be interesting. Let's take a look at what we learned today. Bear with me a little bit. This is the first live stream, so we're going to figure out how all the sharing of screens work. It's pretty funny. Nick just said, can't. I have a Tinder date. Very good. We're going to have a next level experience, Flower Child says. Okay, that's great. Kevin says, where do you see us going from here with Cardano? I think the deal with Cardano is that they went out of their way to build a foundation to allow us to go anywhere. In the video the other night, we talked about how Cardano was like this crazy battleship that had been built on ground, like kind of built in the dry docks for a launch that would only take place today. And then once we were actually in the ocean, this was going to be the biggest, baddest battleship on the seas, and it could go anywhere. I think that's where we're going. I think we can go anywhere. And I think Voltaire, when we have actual real governance, I think that'll kind of determine where we go, which is a credit to the people who created Cardano, because it's been very easy for them just to kind of hang on to governance the project forever. But I think we've got here as a foundation for a truly community governed project, and we can go wherever we want. Okay, let's try to do some screen sharing and just go through some of the things that we learned today. Pete says, don't turn up at your Tinder date wearing that outfit. It's not my Tinder date. I'm not the one going on a Tinder date. It was somebody in the comments said they were going on a Tinder date. It was not me. But thank you for the advice. I will not need that advice, but I appreciate it nonetheless. Okay, let's see if we can do a little sharing of the screen here. Again, bear with me. This is gonna be super amateurish because I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but we're gonna try. Okay, here we go, guys. So this is what we got first thing in the morning. Charles posted this wearing the Ghostbusters outfit, and it was obvious that Charles and a lot of people involved in this project, they've been through a certain amount of turmoil just getting here, mainly from the rest of the crypto community. And Charles is obviously wearing the Ghostbuster outfit because we've been accused of being a ghost chain, and there are no smart contracts. There'll never be smart contracts. The memes were always the lady at the psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist asking, are smart contracts in the room with us right now? This is Charles dressed up, obviously, to do some ghost busting. This is how we start off the day, and this is kind of what I expect. After what this guy's been through, this is kind of what I'd expect any normal person's attitude to be about this. Vitalik is Vito the ghost. Hope you're not, Patrick says, hope you're not too uncomfortable on that outfit. No, I'm good. Stefan says, Ghostbuster. Create the imaginable is speculating as well. Stay anonymous. Yep. It is better only if the screen sharing looks wired. I don't really know what wired means. How many arms do you have? Lots, more than one arm. Okay, okay, so that was the way the day started out. Let's look at what we actually got in the IOHK watch party. Okay, so the IOHK watch party started out with kind of a reveal of everybody from the IOHK side who's going to be on the call. We had Triple H, Tim Harrison, Nigel Hemsley, Hammond down here. We had Manuel Chakravarti. We had Roman Pellerin, McCann, Demetris. And when it came Hammond's turn, Hammond was wearing the tux and he had the ghost background. I think Hammond is kind of like the king of the backgrounds with his step 3 conquer the world, and now with the ghosts. And he looks kind of appropriate for a guy who is very politely doing ghost busting. I think Hammond is dressed appropriately here. There's Nigel doing his thing. And then we got to the actual update here, where the project was going to turn over to the next epic, and we would be in Alonzo. And of course, for anybody who didn't see it, they brought Charles on, and he did his normal Charles thing. He was trying to update us on everything that was going on, and the epic actually turned over while Charles was talking, and Samuel Leathers didn't dare interrupt him until Charles got done. And we were already in Alonzo, which was, I kind of think, the appropriate way for this to go down, since a lot of the a lot of the public relations of this project had always happened in Charles's AMAs. So I thought it was kind of fitting, even though I'm sure Charles would have preferred if Samuel would have interrupted him. I think it was kind of fitting that we had kind of a mini Charles AMA going when the Epic flipped over. Let's see, a person says epic intro. Thank you. Tyler says Crypto Bison. Yeah, we're going to talk about Crypto Bison in a second. I thought that was interesting too. We did find out something about Crypto Bison. Army probably going to do surprise TA with full Fibonaccios and Ichimoku clouds after his surprise face reveal. That would be a surprise. Ooh, Zoyani says, I wrapped my Ducati Diavel in a Martini Racing Cardano design. Wanted to put Army Spies on it too. Is that okay? Yeah, that's certainly okay. Definitely. In fact, I would love to see a picture of your Diavel. That'd be super interesting. Create the Imaginable says, when do Marlowe smart contracts go live? Marlowe is awesome. I guess I can show these. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I can actually show these comments. Oh, congrats on your first live stream. Thank you, Flower Child. Appreciate that. When do Marlowe smart contracts go live? Marlowe is awesome. You know, I don't know. I don't know the status of Marlowe and the Marlowe playground and all that. It used to be called Marlowe Meadow. I don't even know what they're calling it now, but I don't know the status of Marlowe smart contracts and those sort of compiling to Plutus Core and when those will go live. That's something I'm very interested in, though, so I'd like to know that as well. First smart contract used to name Charles Lobster. Yeah, this is Jack. Yeah, you know, this is super interesting. What did you guys vote? Did anybody, so you had to, it looked like you had to, I went and looked at the GitHub, Lars GitHub, to participate in the smart contract to name the lobster on Charles' microphone. It looked like you pretty much had to have a node spun up to vote. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong about that, but it looked like you had to have a node spun up to vote. Did anybody vote? Probably Jack did. He's an SPO. So that means he has a node. Who else? Did anybody else vote? Time Alchemist says you had to have a node. Yep. Any info on Lobster? You know, I don't think we really. So we found out that they want to name the lobster through the smart contract, but I don't think we really learned about the genesis of the lobster thing. Wandering Gamer says I couldn't vote. Fisting of Death says definitely getting ADA tattooed on me if it grows to its full potential. We've seen a lot of ADA tattoos. We've seen a lot of Cardano tattoos, and they were so there's some pretty good ones. There's some pretty good Ada Lovelace ones, some pretty good Cardano symbol ones. I think we're going to see a lot more too. Andrew Welch says I got as far as you, no vote. Okay, let's see. I think the lobster is just Charles' warped sense of humor. I agree with that. Charles is a crazy billionaire, which has been an awesome thing for all of us in the project. And I think he is not afraid to explore eccentric things. Lawrence George says, dude, I'm totally going to get a custom Army of Spies t-shirt made. Don't worry. I won't sell any. Okay. Let's see. Jose Chavita says, I just hope the lobster has nothing to do with that weird Jordan Peterson. Yeah, a lot of people brought up the Jordan Peterson connection to lobsters. I haven't really seen anything suggesting that, but I mean, Charles definitely consumes a lot of different types of media, so who knows? X3 says, we just want to know what the first dApp to launch will be. Do you guys want to take a look at let's take a look right now at what I think is actually the first smart contract that launched on Cardano. Let's take a look at that smart contract real quick. So if I can find it here, this won't be extremely revealing of what it actually is, but I believe this was actually the first smart contract that launched on Cardano. They were taking credit for being first on Twitter anyways. If anybody actually knows what the smart contract does, Let me know in the chat. I'd be very curious to know. But I believe this was actually the first smart contract to launch on Cardano, which is pretty historic. Pretty historic, I think. Okay. Charles was hyped up on juice and talking about drug-addicted lobsters from the 80s. You know, I know that Charles watches a little bit of Rogan. I know the dude doesn't have much time, so he probably isn't going to consume as much media as he would like. But I know he watches a little bit of Rogan. And recently, Anthony Bourdain's kind of assistant. She's kind of like a cooking chef media maker, but I believe she was Anthony Bourdain's assistant. Maybe that's the wrong title, but she worked with Anthony Bourdain for years. She was recently on Rogan, and they talked quite a bit about Anthony Bourdain. Obviously, he's famous for having been the whole substance abusing chef, you know, back in the day, and creating this amazing kind of media empire later on in his life. So I kind of think this is appropriate for the lobster. I think it's kind of appropriate for the lobster. Would you ever create your own NFTs on Cardano? Yeah, this is Michael. Michael's asking this. Yeah, I would, but I'm a little bit afraid of I'm a little bit afraid of what's going to happen to the people who invest in some of these projects right now. So it's not something that I would probably do right now. Maybe in the future if it was something fun, but I think there's too much. I think there's a lot of consumer money coming in on NFTs, and I wouldn't want to be in receipt of all that of that kind of money, even if it was successful. I'm not assuming it would be successful, but even if it was, I wouldn't want to be in receipt of that much money if there was some kind of a big downturn in the market, especially in that NFT market. So I'd be pretty leery of that because I wouldn't want to collect that much money. I wouldn't want to collect a lot of money, let me put it that way, and then have there be a big downturn in the NFT art market or whatever it was. Functional NFTs, I think, are different. I'm a huge fan of functional NFTs, and the original Army of Spies project definitely involves functional NFTs. That will probably happen at some point. Let's see. Will you guys ever consider doing a block party? So I'm a huge fan of parties. If by block party you mean an actual IRL party at like a Cardano summit, we could do that. We could actually do that. Maybe that's something we should think about. I like that idea. If you mean a party about epics turning over, you know, maybe if it was compelling. Let's see. Have you seen the site building on Cardano? Tons of projects in the pipeline. I think this is one of the crazy things that people don't understand about Cardano. We've got a crazy number of projects in the pipeline. IOHK is talking to a crazy number of nation states. We'll talk about that in a second. I think Charles revealed something on the after show that Rick McCracken put together with a bunch of SPOs. We'll talk about that in a second, but I think Charles revealed something about something in the pipeline that's going to be huge. Do you paraglide? So I definitely do a bunch of hobbies that are a little bit rare, but I try not to talk about it because I don't want to spend our time together talking about myself. I want to keep it kind of focused on Cardano. Plus I definitely know of some figures who are a little bit influential in some things I do that were killed paragliding. So, how long have you been interested in Cardano? So, man, probably 2017. The Cardano ICO, I think, went live in Japan in September 2017. I could be wrong on that, but that's my recollection. And I was definitely interested in Cardano in 2017. I think I started DCAing, dollar cost averaging, into Cardano in Q1 of 2018. In fact, I know it was Q1 2018. So I didn't actually start dollar cost averaging into Cardano until the first quarter of 2018, but I was kind of all over it in 2017. But I had already lived through a big crypto bubble, the original 2012, 2013 bubble, the Mt. Gox bubble. And I watched that thing inflate and crash. And in 2017, I knew we were in the same situation. So I didn't buy in 2017 because I knew those prices were not going to last. And I'm glad I didn't. I waited until Q1 of 2018. Shroom Dicky says 0.002 cents ICO price. This is true. I don't know the exact number, but it sounds right by my recollection. You can see the actual numbers on the Cardano Foundation website. They have a whole section about the Cardano ICO in Japan, including the countries, the national affiliations of all the people who bought. It was a lot of Japan, some South Korea, Taiwan, a few Thais snuck in there. But you can see a lot of information about the ICO on the website, and I believe that's a correct number. Okay. Some of these comments and questions I won't comment on because I don't want to reveal certain information, but Mt. Gox was nasty. Yeah, Mt. Gox was incredible to me. I watched that whole thing go down. I actually live blogged that on Facebook. Not live blogged as in I was there outside their offices protesting like a bunch of people were, but I was kind of following it I was following all the news about Mt. Gox and Mark Karpelès and talking about it on Facebook, and all my friends were like, "Are you insane? What are you even talking about? What is Bitcoin? What is Mt. Gox? What is this mountain you're talking about? What does it have to do with this fake internet money you're talking about?" My friends said I was insane for sure. So for people who don't know, Mt. Gox actually was an acronym. Mt. Gox stood for Magic the Gathering Online Exchange. It was originally built as a Magic card exchange, and Mark Karpelès came into control of it, and he turned it into a Bitcoin exchange. I'm probably screwing up the facts here. There were people who were around and involved in all that who could probably get it straight, but Mark Karpelès ended up in charge of it, and it was turned into a Bitcoin exchange. And this dude was like, man, he was famous for his cat like knocking over his Starbucks and the exchange going down because the Starbucks Frappuccino landed on his keyboard. That all happened before the craziness with the Willy bot. We didn't even know at the time, but there was this thing called the Willy bot that was allegedly, one of our favorite phrases lately, allegedly driving up the price on Bitcoin and creating all this volume on Mt. Gox exchange, which didn't actually exist. Eventually, all the funds in Mt. Gox, or some significant portion, were hacked. Mark Karpelès, of course, claimed, innocence, and he was arrested, and he's I think he's still in jail in Japan. Maybe somebody remembers, maybe somebody knows better than I do. Have you invested in any Cardano NFTs? Which ones? No, I think I don't want to pass judgment on the Cardano NFT scene in any way, because I don't feel like I have the requisite expertise. But I'll say I have not invested in any. I haven't invested in any Cardano art NFTs. I'll just put it that way. I'll leave it at that. Do you think ADA will flip Ethereum eventually? I think I think it's easy to think that you can make predictions that are valuable. I think it's easy to assume that your predictions are valuable, but I think sometimes the better intellectual approach is to assume that your predictions are not valuable. So I'm going to do that and say there are a lot of factors. There are a lot of things with Ethereum 2.0. We kind of know a lot about Alonzo at this point. We kind of know what Alonzo is going to look like on day 0. That's today. There are a lot of things about Ethereum 2.0 we don't know. Like Ethereum 2.0, I think a lot of people believe it was always supposed to involve sharding. And they seem to have abandoned that because it's very difficult to achieve sharding with a global state. Cardano doesn't have global state, it has local state. If you want to know more about that, just watch the lectures in the Plutus Pioneer series, and Lars will tell you all about it. But I think Ethereum 2.0 is, I suspect it's not going to be what everybody in Ethereum wants it to be. And I think that will have an impact. I think that will have an impact on Ethereum. Maybe that's the best way to put it, without assuming that my predicted value is higher than it is. Daft turning. Okay, that's not the one I meant to click on. That is not the one I meant to click on. Ethereum 2.0 equals Cardano 1.0. You know, I think you can make that argument. You know, I mean, obviously, Ethereum guys would get super amped up hearing you say that, and they would have all kinds of defenses to that. But I think it's kind of true. I mean, if Ethereum 2.0 was supposed to be staking with smart contracts, we're kind of here right now. We're kind of there. Okay. Astro Jungle, what are your favorite projects in the Cardano ecosystem? P.S. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. Okay, so I'm going to say this. I'm going to answer this question based on their missions, right? I'm going to answer this question based on what I perceive to be the ultimate outcome if they're successful in achieving their missions. My favorite project, the project that jumps to mind when you ask this question is World Mobile. When I think about this idea that you've got an entire continent of people with a lot of different resources who are probably going to experience more growth over the next couple decades than any other part of the world. And there's this one company that may have figured out how to leverage cryptocurrencies to help connect all these people on this gigantic, massive continent with huge population and demographics that skew young, connecting all those people to the internet for the first time. It's like, man, if you can't get behind that mission, if you don't see the value in that, do you even have a heart? Like, I mean, we've had the internet in North America and Europe for a long time, and we have a very high internet penetration rate. And there are parts of sub-Saharan Africa that have never seen anything even approaching that before. And I think once you give people an equal playing field, the results will probably be shocking in a very positive way. So when people ask me, what's your favorite project in Cardano? For the record, I am not speaking about any project's tokens or anybody investing in the project or anything like that. But if you ask me about the mission, like what projects have the very compelling missions in Cardano, I think of World Mobile. That's the first one that comes to mind. Okay. Okay, let's see. Oh, okay, this is not the one. The comments are moving so fast. I'm not clicking on the ones I meant to click on, but let's answer this one anyways. Create the Imaginable says, oh no, that was just a response to somebody else. Okay. My bad. I told you I was an amateur at this live stream stuff. Okay. In your opinion, what countries do you think Cardano has the best chance to break into? You know, I think when I think about Cardano, I kind of break it up into multiple tiers, right? I sort of think about what utility Cardano presents to, very developed countries, North America, parts of Asia, Europe, obviously, Europe writ large. and what it presents for countries sort of outside of those regions. And I think it presents some pretty huge amounts of utility for both. So in the first world, I think, let's not use that terminology. Let's say in the most developed countries, in the most developed nation states, I think there's kind of a crisis of confidence going on where people are questioning the democratic process and representation, and the central banks are obviously turning to central bank digital currencies. Like that's coming. I think everybody already knows, but if you didn't, wake up call, central bank digital currencies are definitely coming. And I think Cardano, with its emphasis on digital identity, can maybe, hopefully, aspirationally, help short circuit some of the negative aspects of some of those things I just described. In the developing world, in developing countries, I think Cardano can create things like identity through digital identity for the first time ever. Like, I think in the most developed countries, we already have identity, but I think it's being questioned. It's viewed as kind of like flawed. It's flawed identity. Like, we have identity, but we don't have proper representation. We consume news, but there's misinformation in the news. I think there's a lot of things like this going on, and I think in the developed world, it can restore a sense of confidence in some of those institutions. And in the developing world, it can provide things like identity for the first time. So I hope that made any sense at all. Army Spies, why don't you? John McClane, awesome. Awesome username. This is obviously the diehard Bruce Willis character for those of you who are too young to remember. Why don't you run a stake pool? Make some monies, lad. I appreciate that. I appreciate you saying that. Okay. I'm trying to avoid the questions, just so everybody knows, I'm trying to avoid the questions about specific projects because I think I have some divergent views about certain genres of projects in Cardano. And so I don't want to say anything negative because I know people, I believe the people running a lot of these projects are working incredibly hard, and I really appreciate their contributions to Cardano. So I don't want to say anything negative about any individual project, even if it's in a genre of projects that I think may encounter regulatory challenges in the coming years. Maybe that's the best way to put it. I think people are naming individual projects, but I think it's a whole genre of projects that are going to encounter regulatory challenges. I did probably too many videos on that, and I think I bored you guys to death with my videos on all that, but that's maybe a slightly divergent view that I hold pretty strongly. Okay, okay, this is an interesting topic. Barry says, PayPal lets you buy 100K of crypto in one go, but I don't like PayPal. So my question is, what other exchanges let you buy more close to 100K in crypto? Okay, I don't want to answer that question for regulatory reasons. I don't want to be directing you to any particular exchange because I think there are many ways in which any of them could be in the crosshairs. I actually thought this was going to be a different type of question about sort of like walled garden ecosystems versus more open kind of ecosystems. I think we're going to see more and more of this. I don't know the current status of PayPal. I remember when they first launched, they were definitely a walled garden kind of system. When I say walled garden, what I mean is you could buy crypto in PayPal, but you couldn't necessarily get it out of PayPal. It was a walled garden. You could have your crypto inside that walled garden, but you could not cross past the wall. And I don't think that is, I should say this aspirationally, I hope that's not the winning type of ecosystem in crypto. Okay. Okay, let's see. People are talking to me about price and support levels. So I used to, I totally went through this phase. In let's say it was 2014, 2015, maybe even into 2016, where I was doing all that stuff. man, I was the guy that had charts and I was drawing lines and triangles on those charts. And I was thinking about Fibonacci's and Ichimoku clouds and all that stuff. And I was trading daily to the extent that makes you a day trader. I was definitely trading daily. And I was doing all this chart analysis. And for me, that I shouldn't say it didn't work out for me, because I think I was one of only the IRS did a press release about how few people paid taxes. I forget which year it was, 2015, 2016, 2014, somewhere right in there. And only like 500 of us had paid taxes. Only 500 people in the US had paid taxes on crypto that year. So I didn't know if I was an idiot or if I was just an upstanding citizen, but I actually paid taxes because I made a profit. But at the end of the day, I was definitely convinced that all the Fibonacci's and Ichimoku clouds in the world do not make anyone an expert on the future. Let me put it that way. So I don't spend any time on that. I don't talk about price because, again, I don't really believe in the predictive value of anybody's analysis of what's going to happen in the future. Given that there's too much chaos in markets and it's impossible to take into account all the different variables. Okay, Time Alchemist says 2014, built my first miner. Yeah, I kind of feel like I screwed up by not mining back in the day. I was super close to doing it multiple times. And I never actually did it. I never actually was a miner. So good for you. Good for you for mining back in 2014. That was a good move. What did you have for breakfast yesterday? I got to be careful here because that question, the answer to that question puts me in a, it's a little too specific. It'll be a little bit too specific. It'll be a little bit too specific to answer that question. Maybe one day I'll talk to you about that. I have a lot to say on that topic. I used to spend a lot of time thinking about those kind of things. Let's see. Oh, I like this. Okay, I love this. Ravinave says, I'm a quant and can tell you for a fact that technical analysis is equivalent to making predictions from chicken bones. Nobody who's serious uses it. Only YouTube and influencers. I kind of agree. Man. Doxed breakfast. Yeah, was trying not to dox my breakfast. In retrospect, do you have any expensive crypto transactions you would like to share about? Michael, I was always kind of careful. I was always super careful in my crypto transactions. I had a lot of friends. So I had an actual brick and mortar business that accepted crypto going clear back to, I don't even know what year. I think somewhere I have a record of the year, but it might have been going back to like 2013, 2014. We were definitely accepting crypto. So a lot of people would talk to me about crypto and what they're doing. So I went to that whole 2017 ICO phase where people would come in and they knew my business was accepting crypto. So they knew that I was like the person they would talk to about crypto. So I would hear a lot of different takes on crypto, and I would hear about a lot of crazy ICO buying, and everybody I talked to thought they were genius because they were buying some pretty terrible projects. But it was 2017 and everything was going up. So they were all making tons of money. I mean, young dudes would walk in and tell me about how they made, like crazy 6 figures amounts of money in very short periods of time. I don't want to say it's reminiscent of what's going on in NFTs right now, but pretty reminiscent. And it didn't make sense to me. So I avoided all that in 2017. I really didn't. Somebody asked me to buy them kind of a very small cap project for their birthday. So I bought that person, a small amount of that project and a little bit for myself, just so I could kind of be on the ride with them. But that wasn't really expensive. That was like, that was in the hundreds of dollars. That wasn't anything super expensive. you know, I mean, I know hundreds of dollars is expensive for some people, so I don't want to belittle any specific amount of money, but Lakers 24 doesn't like the Clippers. This guy sounds Asian. Yeah, I try not to. So obviously I'm trying not to dox anything about myself. Are you Satoshi Nakamoto? I am not Satoshi Nakamoto. I will, since it's a very small class, it's like one person, I will happily exclude myself from that. I'm not Satoshi Nakamoto. I can promise you that. Can I make you a new intro video? You know, a lot of people have offered to make various things, but it's very easy to not have to worry about IP issues. So there are a lot of issues with intellectual property that are produced by other people. Like even that intro song that was in the intro you guys saw today, that was something I made 10 years ago. I made that song note by note. There are a billion songs I would love to use for the intro to these videos, but it's so much easier to deal with the IP issues if you never use anybody else's IP. So I really appreciate that offer. Seriously, I'm sure you would make an intro video that would be 100 times better than anything I would come up with. But the IP considerations keep me from accepting any offers like that. But I really appreciate it. Okay. Here's a vote of confidence. I appreciate that. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Props for the music. I appreciate that. Shroom Nikki says, always wondered about your intro music. I Shazammed it and found nothing. Yeah, I made that in FL Studio note by note. I actually just dropped each note in. I have zero musical talent. I have zero musical talent, so it doesn't surprise me you Shazammed it, and Shazam was probably like, okay, this is terrible, but no, we found nothing. Okay. Hiding face, now that's called decentralization. Yeah. Yep. Decentralization is good. Okay, let's look at something else. I'm gonna try to share screen again. I apologize if the screen sharing is super amateurish, but let's face it, this is the first time doing this, so I am by definition very amateurish at this. Let's try to share the screen, and we're gonna look at something else that I think helped us learn a little something about what's going on in Cardano today, if you guys don't mind. Let's see if I can actually find what I'm looking for here today. Okay. Okay, so you guys probably saw this, but only 10 minutes into Alonzo, we already had 23 smart contracts on the blockchain. And I think it was about 30 minutes in, we already had 47 smart contracts on the blockchain. Were you guys surprised at all by this? Did you guys expect more, less? Did you think it'd be more of an avalanche of smart contracts, or was this more than you thought we would get? Silo says a little bit dead mouse. I think dead mouse is actually talented. Dead mouse is actually talented, whereas I'm just a guy who likes to talk about Cardano. So we definitely don't have that in common. Didn't expect any. That's kind of how I was. I was kind of shocked by how many we got. I mean, like 47 in the first half hour was pretty amazing to me. I was expecting 5 like day one. Oh, no, sorry. God, the comments are moving so fast. Sorry, guys. I was expecting like 5 day one from Roland. Yep. Something like that. Jay Gannon says, I expected about 350. I appreciate that. No announcements. No announcements regarding what the contracts do. Yeah. I think the things that I think that are going to surprise people are going to be when this all shakes out and we look at what contracts are actually available for kind of end consumer interaction and by what means we get to interact with them. I mean, there's still the issue of us needing a MetaMask for Cardano. And we've already kind of got an answer to that question, what is going to be a MetaMask for Cardano? But there's also it's sort of the UX issue. Like what's the user experience going to be like on the Cardano smart contracts? And I think there will be a lot of noise about that in the coming days and weeks and maybe months, but I think that'll all be built out slowly. I think we'll slowly build out a good user experience because we have the right fundamentals in place. It's just going to take time to build out those good user experiences. Okay, what do we got? I think this guy's a well-known influencer and doesn't want to be known as a Cardano. Tragic, but love his stuff, so it doesn't matter. Let's see. Okay. Any updates about the lobster? We know there was a smart contract launched to help the community vote on naming the lobster, but we still don't know too much about the lobster. Charles has revealed that the lobster has an Anthony Bourdain-esque backstory involving substance abuse in the 80s, which I kind of like because I'm a big fan of Anthony Bourdain. R.I.P. Anthony Bourdain. But we'll see. I think we'll learn more about lobster. AGIX will blow your mind. I'm really interested. I would like to learn more. I would like to learn more about that whole world. I'm not gonna lie. I was a little bit of a. I kind of refused to participate too much in projects that hadn't migrated over to Cardano yet, and this was the project that I felt the most bad about over that. Like this was the one project that I was like, man, I can't wait for you guys to get over because I want to learn more about this project. I think I did one video on that whole world within the ecosystem. But I think I'd like to learn more. And man, AGI is such a crazy topic when you think about the ramifications of artificial general intelligence or just AI in general. It's so extreme and so hard to believe how transformative it could be that it's almost like. So I've encountered a little bit of God. I'm trying not to provide too much information here. I've had to deal with a little bit of machine learning and AGI stuff in my professional life prior to Cardano, and it seems like the potential is so high, and there are so many people talking about it who I don't want to say don't know what they're talking about, but the things they think will happen in 1 year are actually much further out than that. That it's kind of crazy when you watch a guy like Ben Goertzel talk, who actually seems to know what he's talking about. It's kind of crazy to reconcile that with all the nonsense talk around AI that you get in the rest of the world, especially if you're out in the business world and you're dealing with that kind of stuff. Okay, here's one. Do you think the SEC is deathly afraid of crypto? So here's what I think about the SEC. I think the SEC is bound by precedent. Chief among those precedents is Howey, and we recently found out with the Cardano lend fiasco. You know, we've got a lot of case law about securities. Securities are nothing new, right? We've had abuses of securities for a long, long time. in the developed world. And the SEC definitely has a tendency to think about securities issues, legally, like they're supposed to. They think about it with what I mean is they think about it with a legal mind. They go back to precedent. So with the Coinbase Lend thing, we saw a really interesting interaction between it wasn't even an interaction, it was just commentary by a Georgetown law professor and the chief legal officer of Coinbase, who had written an article about crypto lend and why they couldn't understand why the SEC was telling them it was a security. And to that professor at Georgetown, it was very, very obvious. It was obviously a security. In fact, he said there's nothing crypto about the issue. It's just an old-fashioned security that doesn't pass the Howey test or the Reeves test, which was the 1990 case law he cited. I think crypto is on a bit of a collision course with the regulators, not just the SEC, but Treasury certainly, and kind of their allies in the legislative branch in North America. So I think we're going to see a lot of action there. I know the regulatory topic is a little bit boring for people, so I won't belabor this too much, but we can talk about that in more videos. I probably went a little too deep on that recently. So, okay. So, wow, I won't even. I don't know. I won't comment on this one. I won't comment on this one. There are a lot of issues. There are a lot of issues there. I won't comment on this particular one. What YouTubers or social personalities do you follow? Ooh. Obviously I watch all of Charles' stuff. I watch all of IOHK stuff. We've actually got really good social media personalities in Cardano. In fact, I think almost everybody is really good in Cardano. We've got some really, really good Twitter personalities. Obviously, I like Jack's stuff. How could you not like Jack's content coming to you live from his mom's basement? It's very good stuff. I really like the stuff Paul does. Paul does really good interviews. I really liked his interview with the Cornucopias guys. I think Big Pay does really good interviews. He tends to ask some of the right questions when he interviews people. I like those. I obviously don't watch the TA guys because I'm not a big TA guy. I think there are people in Cardano. If you're gonna do TA, I think there are people in Cardano who do it really well. I'm just not into TA. Somebody says, who is Jax? No, I was talking about Jack, Jack, Jack. Okay, what's up with the disguise? I just don't want to make this about me, and there's too much. It's too easy. If I just come on here live, it's too easy for you guys to figure out who I am, and you'll want to talk to me about stuff having to do with me. And I'd really rather make it about sort of our little journey together in crypto, and not about me. So it's that simple. Caesar Cat says, I already know who you are. Maybe you do. Maybe you do. Okay, why don't we let's go now to let's do another screen share and look at something else. The place where I think we actually learned the most about what was going on that we didn't know was maybe the Alonzo after party here. Let's see if we can. So you guys may or may not have seen this. Post in the comments whether you saw this. So we had this, I believe, was organized by Rick McCracken, and it was a bunch of SPOs, and Sebastian and Charles jumped on, and Charles, I think he kind of opened up a little bit in this section. So he mentioned that at the Cardano Summit, we're going to get a whole presentation on Crypto Bison. He said they're working with Unreal 5 and they're going to take Cardano games and NFTs to the next level. He says these will be dynamic NFTs instead of static, and you'll be able to do things to actually increase their value. I thought this was really interesting because we've talked a lot on this channel about the possibility of Cardano-based games, and it sounds like Charles is taking a real run at Crypto Bison, which I love. What I would love to see, some of you won't like this, but what I would love to see is and I'm sure I doubt this is what he has in mind, but what I would love to see is a Crypto Bison game where I could actually get some bison, because bison is delicious. I super apologize if anybody is anti the eating of animals, but bison is super delicious. And if he has a video game that I can play and like earn bison deliveries to my house, I will be super down. I don't think that's what he has in mind, but I would love it if that's the case. Let's see. Charles got a question on this little live stream about whether the more centralized chains would be better for gaming. Charles responded that with a layer 2, you get all the benefits, but none of the detriments of a very fast chain. And this kind of made sense to me. So the question was kind of posed as, hey, the Solana people keep telling me that Solana is going to crush gaming because they're so fast. And Charles explained that you can't really get a benefit out of block times below a second, just because once you have a network where you have to make more than 5 jumps to achieve consensus, you really can't get any benefit out of block times lower than 1 second. And this kind of made sense to me. I mean, if we can have a layer 2 that's extremely fast and a base layer that doesn't sacrifice the decentralization and security legs of the trilemma in favor of scaling and speed, then it kind of makes sense to me. I think we can achieve the best of all worlds. So before I move on, what do you guys think? Jose says, I'll take some M Bison steaks. M Bison. Oh, I like this. I like this old school reference. Very good. Very good. I mean, it's been a long time, but I believe that's Street Fighter. And I definitely played a lot of Street Fighter. Nikki says, well, he does have a lot of bison. Maybe that's why we have Beef Chain. Okay, I mean, fair enough. Beef Chain obviously about beef, and bison's not beef, but yeah, Beef Chain is kind of a big deal in Wyoming. I've actually learned quite a bit more about Beef Chain recently. But I think we're gonna hear a lot about Beef Chain at the Cardano Summit. So I probably won't address Beef Chain until after the Cardano Summit, because I think we might learn a lot more about Beef Chain there. Okay. What is your opinion about Solana getting influencers like Mike Tyson and Steve Harvey on board? I don't think it means anything. I don't think it really means anything. I think Sam Bankman-Fried, who is the guy behind FTX and Serum, which is on Solana, is one of the richest guys in crypto. And I think he's also got, I think I saw rumblings there's gonna be a Giselle and Tom Brady ad for was it for FTX? I can't remember what it was for. So I mean, I think they're going with a a celebrity strategy. I see it as a weakness, man. I see Cardano's lack of a need to go the celebrity route the same as Tesla not doing advertisements. I think it's because they're dealing with the world from a position of strength. I don't think they need the celebrities. Okay. Okay. I actually meant to click on this one. Okay. Yeah, we'll see. I've done a couple of videos addressing Solana. Okay. People are asking me to address specific DeFi projects in Cardano. I'd like to avoid doing that because I actually respect a lot of the people involved in some of the DeFi projects in Cardano. I respect how hard they work and the way they approach their business. But I'm worried that they're on a collision course with regulators in a lot of respects. So I wish the best for them, and I don't want to say anything about any particular project because I'm worried about where that's going to go regulatorily. Okay. Man, I've got to slow down the comments. Something. These are going too fast. I wanted to address this one. Please address the concurrency issue with ADA. So I've addressed that in a couple different videos. Going back, I think the first one was on June 5th. I addressed the concurrency issue. At that time, a bunch of projects were working on concurrency. And over the last couple of weeks, I think no less than five Cardano projects have announced that they've solved concurrency. The either IOHK or the Cardano Foundation or some combination of both have published a couple different articles addressing how you can solve it. It's basically solved through distributed UTXOs. Read the Meld paper. Meld wrote a great paper on how to use distributed UTXOs. They have a reserve UTXO system and a state UTXO. It's kind of a double UTXO system with reserve UTXOs and state UTXOs that addresses it through distribution of UTXOs. There are also off-chain solutions. So there's multiple ways to solve it. And we've got, probably by now more than half a dozen projects that have already figured out how to do it. So I'm not worried about it. What do you think the price tag of ADA will be at the end of the year? No idea. No idea. I actually do have opinions on these issues, but I don't think the predictive value of what I think is great enough to spread that to you guys, because I could be wildly wrong, and I don't want anybody operating off any non-predictive statements by me. Okay, no. Oh, man, this one. What do you think about XRP? I hear it's okay. It's not a great coin, or it's the next huge thing. XR. I have a close friend who's been an XRP fan forever. He's not super deep into crypto, but he's a little bit into crypto, and he's been an XRP fan for years. I told him about Cardano in 2018 and begged him to take a look at Cardano. He could have easily bought Cardano at 3 cents. And he was an XRP fan, and I think he probably regrets that now. Okay. Roland says, I bought Cardano at 5 cents and now I'm rich. What on earth do I do with the gains? I hope that is true. I don't know if you're telling me the truth or you're just joking around, but I hope that is true. I hope you made a ton of money on Cardano, and it is up to you to decide what to do with the gains. Oh, that's funny. Somebody just made a funny comment, but it's a little bit too political, so I want to open that up. Okay, so Munger and Buffett allow for one asset to be up to 60% of their portfolio. Do you recommend this for eight? So I am not a financial or investment advisor, so I can't even comment on that. I definitely in a prior life, it was part of my life that I would read Buffett's speech at his annual shareholders meeting, like the second it came out every year. But I don't think I can comment on that question because it's going to seem like financial or investment advice. Okay. So let's talk a little bit more about what Charles revealed in the. Let's talk a little bit more about what Charles revealed in that little call with the SPOs. So one of the questions. Oh, let me address this first. How did you come up with Army Spies as the name of your channel? So that Army Spies was named because of the original DApp project we conceived and launched. It was a part of Catalyst Fund 3, and we didn't get funded, which was kind of what we expected. I was kind of happy to see the funds go elsewhere because I didn't want to be responsible. I didn't want to be in a tight timeline with the community and feel like I had to kick something out for the community on a tight timeline, like would have been required if we actually got funded. So I kind of didn't want us to be funded. I mean, I didn't expect for us to be funded, and I was kind of relieved when we weren't funded because we could kind of take our time and let that project develop, on a timeline we liked. But the goal of that project was to build a marketplace for obscure information. Like the whole goal of the project, and actually the reason this YouTube channel exists, was because we feel like there's a lot of asymmetry of information in the world generally, and we felt like cryptocurrency and blockchains were the right tool to help mitigate some of the asymmetries of information. So I in my professional life, I've definitely been in careers that allowed me to understand things that I felt like the average person had like zero understanding of. And I always felt bad about that asymmetry of information. And so the original DApp project was to create a marketplace for obscure or difficult to acquire information. And that's why we called it Army of Spies, because the DApp would basically create a private army of spies. So it's actually descriptive of the DApp. You posted that William Shakespeare quote. Yeah, that was from, I believe it was from the Merchant of Venice. I haven't looked at that in a while, but in the Merchant of Venice, I think it's something like, in the end, the truth will out. And that's exactly what we want. We just want for the truth to be more widely spread. And it's not in some weird, protester, tilting at windmills kind of way, but we just feel like there's a lot of information out there that doesn't need to be kept secret, that is currently subject to a lot of asymmetry. Like there's a lot of information out there that doesn't need to be kept secret, that is kept secret. So that's why we initially had the DApp idea and why this channel was built. So speaking of that, let's get back to some of the things Charles talked about on the SPO call. So he was asked when Rogan. I think this is a relevant thing that a lot of people care about. When Rogan, he said Q1 or Q2 would be best timing, since Voltaire and Basho will be happening and we'll have our own El Salvador type thing at some point. This is one of the most important discoveries for me of the of today, of this whole launch of Alonzo. Charles said, I'm paraphrasing, so don't draw too many conclusions from the wording I use, but he basically said, hey, Rogan, we should shoot for Rogan Q1 or Q2. We'll sort of be further along on Voltaire and Basho. And we'll have our own El Salvador type thing happening at some point. Go back and listen to his exact words so you can draw your own conclusions. But I kind of think there's something there. I don't think that was just an off the cuff aspirational remark. I think there are things in the works, maybe multiple nation states, but I think there's at least one nation state that we might see something on the level of the El Salvador Bitcoin announcement. In fact, if you look at some of the Spanish language newspaper coverage in El Salvador of the Bukele administration, there's a lot of talk of Bukele's two brothers who are sort of unofficial advisors, not actual members of the government, but unofficial advisors to Bukele. There's a lot of talk of them having meetings with Cardano. So I believe we've talked about that a little bit on the channel. I don't want to blow it up. I didn't want to create too much attention on that because it's so unclear, and it's just like one or two newspapers reporting on this in El Salvador. But there's definitely been coverage in Spanish in El Salvador of Bukele's brothers meeting with somebody from Cardano. And, it was always in the context of, they're probably meeting with multiple parties, but there was definitely something going on there. Gothic Light says Atala Prism stuff, maybe. Yeah, I think it's I think Cardano has a lot to offer nation states like that. His brothers are crypto friendly. Definitely. I mean, the newspaper coverage on their websites actually had like full on videos of like kind of like Zoom meetings and stuff like that. And yeah, they seem crypto friendly for sure. Adam, I won't put Adam's comment on the screen because YouTube might get mad, but Adam has a pretty funny comment over there about what he's going to do at the summit. Something with, there's been a little bit, there's definitely been some linkage in the press between Cardano and the European Union with identity solutions. That would be huge. I mean, obviously, like if you could strike a deal with the EU, it's like as big a deal as you could ever have as any type of company, as any type of industry. Like this is like as big as it gets. And this kind of falls in, for me, this falls into the tier of like what you can offer the most developed countries in the entire world. But yeah, man, if Cardano can strike any kind of deal with the EU, it'll be amazing. If you look at so I think on the channel, I actually went into detail about the exact sort of like government requisition orders and stuff that Cardano was applying to and had fulfilled. And it looked like there were some studies. I think there was some kind of an academic in Greece who was attached to IOHK that did a study for the EU. We covered it on the channel, but it was all kind of like the stuff that had a paper trail behind it was all kind of low-level stuff, just very low-level, very early exploratory stuff. But we don't know what's actually going on. I mean, I hope there's something gigantic there. Ferdinand Tomas says, no. Oh, there's Glenn. Hey, Glenn. Hope you are having a great day, Glenn. Good to see you, as always. Ferdinand Tomas says, Tesla accepting Cardano. I don't know. I mean, I would love it. I remember when Charles thought, that Elon was trolling us because he had something like Meta 4K in his Twitter profile, and I wasn't convinced that was actually Elon trolling us. Maybe it was. Glenn says, "Hey, bro, sorry you had a big meeting." No worries, man. I know we've all got lives outside of Cardano. Cardano is just kind of like our little secret club, and I know we all gotta do our real daytime stuff too. But I appreciate you being here, Glenn. Glenn is a long time member of the channel, and I appreciate you being here. Let's see what else we got. Ryan MF says any deal with the EU would be a deal with the devil. I can't comment on that. I don't know. Is there an L2 coin that really interests you on Cardano? If so, which one? I hesitate to, I'm happy to talk about the missions, like sort of the use case of different projects, but I really hesitate to talk about specific coins because I don't know. I don't really want to be the guy who comments on like the tokenomics of different coins because I think it can kind of stray into investment advice too much. If you want to talk about the use case of a particular project, I'm happy to talk about that, but I can't really talk about the coins because they might have an awesome use case, but maybe the tokenomics are all screwed up and abusive. So I can't really equate the use case with the coin because the coin might be screwed up even if they have a really good use case, Okay. Any idea how many transactions ADA is capable of now after upgrade? So sorry. I'm really gonna slow down the comments because they're flying by too fast. Any idea how many transactions ADA is capable of now after upgrade? I actually don't know the answer. I don't know the answer to that in terms of TPS. I mean, I'm not the reason I don't know the answer is because I don't really care because Hydra is gonna be such a big step up. And it feels like, based on comments people in IHK have made, it feels like the distance from here, from today, day zero of Alonzo, to Basho, in the sense that Basho is complete enough that we can have Hydra. I feel like that's a shorter distance than the distance from Byron to here. I feel like it's pretty easy for us to achieve scaling on layer 2 from here. So I'm not too worried about TPS right now. What are you thinking about Empowa's project? I don't know. I don't know anything. I don't know anything about Empowa. Send me some info. I'd love to read about it. I don't know anything about it. Okay. What do you think will be major announcements on the upcoming? Oh, there's Arby. Arby's okay. Arby's a member of the channel. He's always in the comments. What do you think will be the major announcements on the upcoming Cardano summit? I think we're going to hear about Basho and Voltaire. I think we're going to hear about Crypto Bison. And I think it's going to be business as usual. I think it's going to be Cardano is always looking forward. Like, I feel like they really built the most sound ship for sailing anywhere on the high seas. And they're always kind of looking forward. Like I feel like Charles and IOHK are insatiable. Like, they'll never be satisfied, which is fantastic. Give me a crazy billionaire who is never satisfied with his own work. Put that guy in charge of my project. That's what I want. That's what I want to hear. You have an insatiable, crazy billionaire who will never stop because he's never satisfied. I think it's gonna be a lot of that. I think they're gonna be talking a lot about all the wonderful things they want to do with Voltaire and Basho and how they want to improve tooling for building out of projects and how Grigory Rosu and runtime verification are working on, compatibility with other programming languages in the island, the pond, and the ocean metaphor. I think it's like, you call it the sea or the ocean, but addressing all of the programmers who are not a part of crypto. I think I'm hoping there's some of that stuff, maybe a little bit too early for that stuff, but I think it's gonna be a lot of that kind of stuff. I think it's gonna be looking forward. I think they're gonna have a billion different plans, and their sort of evolution has always been one of parallelism. They're always working on things in parallel instead of sequentially, which I love. So I think we're going to hear about a million little things like that. And I'm hoping there's some crazy nation state news. I hope we go there and they say, hey, guess what? We've got a deal with Ghana. I hope we go to the summit and they're like, we have a deal with Ghana and it's on the level of the El Salvador Bitcoin news. I hope we hear some nation state stuff like that, because I think that stuff we can all kind of get behind. I know there's going to be technological innovation. It's going to be a lot of like looking forward, like, hey, we've got this awesome battleship. We're on the high seas, but here are all the ways we're going to make this awesome battleship even better. So I hope there's some big nation state news. Maybe a little early for that, but we'll see. Okay. When do you think ETH people will jump ship to do smart contracts on ADA? So I think DC Sparks project Milkomeda is going to. I think that could be big for a lot of ETH people. I think there are a lot of Ethereum people. I think there's such a high level of toxicity towards Cardano. There will be a lot of Ethereum people who will never come over to Cardano until it's so obvious. It's like the horse master, the guy who spent his entire career tending to horses, and all of a sudden it's like the 1900s and cars are everywhere. And this dude is still like, cars suck. I'm going to stick with horses. I think we're going to have a lot of those people in Ethereum because the toxicity level is so high. I think we'll have a lot of people who dip their toe in with Milkomeda. The number of people who actually come over and program in Haskell, in Plutus, which is a subset of Haskell, but basically Haskell. The number of people who will do that, I'd say take a good look at those people, because those kind of early adopters tend to be very innovative people. I would say take a very close look at those people who do that. Okay. Okay. Did you catch the FUD tweet by Bob Lucas? No, I mean, I recognize that name, but I actually don't even know who that is. Give us a rundown. Give me paraphrase it for me. This is true. A lot of people from Ether already come over because of the NFT scene. Yeah, I mean, it's like if we're talking about the gas fees on Ethereum being so ridiculous that it doesn't make any sense in the world not to jump ship and come over to Cardano like it does with NFTs, then yeah. I think a lot of people are going to come over when they see things providing utility to them on Cardano at an exponentially lower cost. I think a lot of end users are going to come over, and I think a lot, like things like minting NFTs. A lot of people are going to mint NFTs on Cardano and not on Ethereum, because I mean, that to me, that chain is broken by fees. I agree with that 100%. ETH is the best advertisement for Cardano. I agree. I did a video called "Ethereum is Cardano's Salesman." Had a thumbnail of Vitalik. Had a thumbnail of Vitalik holding a briefcase selling Cardano stuff, because I think that's basically what they've been doing. So did you guys drink? Did you guys have a few little drinks today during the watch party? What did you guys drink? Post in the chat what you were drinking today. Kevin says, dude, 181 episodes in a row at your level of thought is insane. Are you going to give yourself a break at some point? You deserve it. Yeah, so this is probably a good time. Usually I think this is like a planted comment, but I did not plant this comment. Yeah, I'm going to have to start taking, at some point here, I'm going to start taking, a couple days a week off or something like that, just because there are things I would like to do and that I must do. Like, I would like to consume a lot more of the Plutus Pioneers content. I'd like to get back into that 1,200-page Haskell book. I'm about 400 pages into that book, and I would really like to get into that and consume a lot more of that, get better at Haskell, and go through the Plutus Pioneer stuff. I'd like to do that, and there are also other recreational things I've not really done this year, because I thought Cardano was too important. I thought this period in Cardano's development was too important not to work on it every day. And I know a very small contribution, making a little video every day, is a small contribution in the grand scheme of things. We've got people like Manuel Chakravarty, architecting this brand new style of blockchain. So very small. Making videos is a small contribution, but I wanted to be a part of this somehow. So I kind of took off from a lot of stuff I normally do. So have to do a few little things. Glenn Thomas says the original foot soldier. Thank you, Glenn. I appreciate that. Polsky OCE says beer is good. Dan Brown says drink some beer. Panda Bear said I had coffee. You guys know I love coffee. Polsky says Sapporo. Kevin says Sapporo. A lot of Sapporo fans. Schlitz Malt Liquor Bull. Crypto Shizzle. Front Cloud says coffee only 070 700 hours in Brisbane. Kathy says red wine. What kind of red wine did you drink, Kathy? Casper Cat says, will finding Haskell programmers be a problem for Cardano? Not really. I mean, they've minted like 2,000 of them. They've created 2,000 Cardano programmers in the Plus Pioneers program, so I don't think so. Andy is drinking Duvel. Very nice. What's your favorite coffee? Astro Jungle. I like Central American coffees. God, I'm trying not to I'm trying to describe things in a way that doesn't reveal too much information. I like Central American coffees for sure. I definitely I've got right now I've got whole bean Nicaraguan, Honduran, and Guatemalan coffee. I historically drank a lot of Costa Rican coffee. I like Tico coffees. I like Salvadorian coffee. Salvadorian coffee is really good. They have pupusas are a delicious foods. They have a lot of good things in El Salvador. Flower Child says Panama Geisha is the best. I don't know about Panama Geisha. I have definitely drank coffee with Panamanians before, and I cannot remember what kind of coffee we drank. King Geo says pupusas. Oh man, pupusas are fire. You are so right, dude. You are so right. Jankmaster says Shiner Box. Very nice. Very nice. Kathy says Pinot Noir, no Merlot. Man, Kathy, I am so with you on this. I am so with you on this. I will, yeah, definitely Pinot Noir over Merlot. Right now, I'm drinking, I usually drink Irish whiskey or Scotch. And today, I've been drinking a little bit of this. I actually had this saved. Somebody gave me this about 6 years ago on a very, very special occasion. And I've been saving it for an equally special occasion. I actually hadn't even cracked it. I actually wasn't the one storing it. Somebody else was in charge of storing it, and they kind of stored it vertically. So did that thing that's familiar to people who have old bottles of wine where the cork doesn't get enough moisture and it breaks off. Turns out that's a thing even with this type of Scotch cork. And the cork broke off. This thing was old enough at this point. But the whiskey was delicious. So I'm drinking that today. Glad I saved it. I feel like this was a big enough occasion. Normally, I also drink quite a bit of this when I'm having a drink. This is quite nice. Okay. Asahi beer is another awesome beer. Yeah, man, I think Japan is very, very good at all alcohol. Japan is also very, very good at whiskey, man. Yamazaki 18, so good. I forget how old I think the younger Yamazaki is Yamazaki 12, also pretty good. But Yamazaki 18 is quite a thing, and there's an awesome story behind Yamazaki. I think Yamazaki is the one. Has quite a story, quite a connection with the Scottish whiskey making tradition. Okay. Ardbeg is nice. I'm a Freud. Yamazaki single malt, beautiful too. Yep. I don't know. I was just barely talking about Yamazaki. You were probably typing that at the same, probably before I was even talking about it. All the Yamazakis are brilliant. Yep. I love them. I was supposed to have a completely unknown to me Japanese whiskey, kind of in the same price range as Yamazaki 12, if I'm getting the years right on the younger Yamazaki. And I forgot to go pick it up. For today. Writer's Tears is pretty neat. Yeah, man, at the price point, Writer's Tears is not an expensive whiskey at all. But at the price point, I think it's pretty solid. You like Irish whiskeys. I live in Ireland. Where do you live in Ireland, Gareth? Big fan of mezcal. Man, Mexico is another place that is very good at the alcohols. Ooh, Gothic Light is talking about Kavalan Taiwanese whiskey. It's so good, dude. Okay, I believe this is the Taiwanese whiskey that I know about. I've never had it. I just had a conversation with somebody, um, somebody who wanted to, completely unrelated to Cardano for a different business reason, wanted to buy me a bottle of whiskey, and he was kind of going to the standard business offerings that are extremely expensive, and we ended up talking about this one, but I wouldn't let him buy me a bottle. Donegal, okay, cool. Northwest Tip, okay, cool. Okay. Okay, no whiskey, vodka, or rum, bro. Just some big Ballard IPA. Okay, yeah. No, I appreciate the beer drinkers. Obviously, I drink spirits, but I definitely appreciate the beer drinkers. What stake pool do you delegate to Army Spies? I don't want to say because there's so many good SPOs. I don't want to reveal that because there's so many good choices, and there's so many really good members of the community who are SPOs. So I would love to hook you up with a bottle of Bushmills. Thank you for that offer. I really appreciate that. I appreciate that, Gareth. Tequila is my go-to liquor. I'm kind of with you. I've actually also got a bottle on the table right now. I've got a bottle of Añejo tequila. I'm quite a fan of Herradura Añejo. So I'm definitely a big fan of tequila as well. So in the stake pool conversation, there was also a really interesting staking tax discussion. This is something that people ask me about quite a bit. When we getting Army of Spies merch? Go to the description box in the video. There's a link for Army of Spies merch. Let me know if you guys like the Army of Spies merch that's currently available. If you hate it, let me know. Not in the comments here, but maybe in the comments to one of the videos. Just let me know. I don't want to go through all the design decisions right now in the comments in the chat, but in the comments later on to this video or next one, kind of let me know what you think of the merchandise. But there's merchandise available in the description box right now. So there's an interesting discussion though of staking and taxes. This is something people ask me about a lot, and I strongly hesitate to talk about it because I don't want to be seen as giving tax advice. But there was a discussion in this little SPO chat with Charles where they talked quite a bit about staking taxes. I would say check that out. Interestingly though, Charles said at the summit or after, maybe October or November, they'll announce the Cardano lobbying strategy, and there will be actual money behind it since the Cardano Foundation has like $1 billion right now. So they're actually going to attack lobbying. It sounds like Charles, we all remember when Charles went to Washington, and I think he jokingly implied that he was there to talk about bison stuff. But of course, he was there to talk about all the stuff we covered ad nauseum in this channel. And he sounds pretty disappointed, but they're going to make a strong go at lobbying. And I think we all know that Cardano institutionally has a lot of dough, and money seems to do the talking in Washington. So I'm excited for that. When is the merchandise going to come on board? It's available now. There's Army of Spies merchandise available now. It's always been down in the description box. I just don't talk about it enough. Dude, your thoughts on the Cardano single pool alliance and pool splitters SPOs that run multiple pools? Please don't hold back. You know, this is something I've thought about quite a bit. It's a really interesting question, Kevin, because I think we all want decentralization. We all want the protocol to be very decentralized. And obviously there are a lot of, especially like Cardano sort of commenters who have multiple stake pools, and it's very controversial. I think I actually have to think about this more. I think I have to think about this a little bit more, because I think it's a matter of degrees. We're so decentralized in terms of us having over 2,900 stake pools. Maybe we're at 3,000 now. I don't even know. Maybe we're at 3,000, but we're so decentralized already that it's hard for me to condemn somebody because they have 2 stake pools. But at the same time, I get the Cardano single pool alliance people who are like, I will never have more than 1 stake pool. That's so contrary to the notion of decentralization. I get that too. So I'm going to have to think about that more before I can come out with like a strong stance in either direction. Plus, I think some of the people have multiple stake pools. I think they're nice dudes who really care about Cardano, and they just have a different view on this. So I hate to come out and express anything too strongly on that. Worst YouTuber fodder for Cardano. Who gets on your nerves most? Okay. I don't want to call anybody out, but I think there are general crypto YouTubers who are more than happy to jump on the Cardano bandwagon when they're doing like a Cardano video. And when something's happening in Cardano, they're all over our Twitter and like, go Cardano. And then the next video, I see them, you know, like criticizing Cardano and talking about how wonderful Ethereum is. And I mean, I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to appeal to all audiences, but I'd rather they just like call it like they see it and, you know, not engage in the double talk. Like, if you think Cardano is an awesome project, go ahead and say it. If you think Cardano sucks, go ahead and say it. And I'm actually okay with it. If you like are diehard Ethereum and you think Cardano sucks, like, we disagree, but I'm not going to be mad at you. I'm not going to think you're not authentic. But when you engage in the double talk and, like, you know, on Alonzo Day, you're like, I love Cardano, go Cardano. And then the next day I see you doing videos basically like giving Cardano backhanded compliments and subtly implying that Cardano sucks. You know, I mean, that's the inauthenticity inherent in that is what I would have a problem with. He says, laugh out loud on Paul. Paul's awesome. Do you think those developers from Ergo leaving for DC Spark will negatively affect Ergo? I think Ergo's got awesome stuff going on. So I think Ergo will be fine. Like, everybody had such a high opinion of Alex Chirpinoy that I think they're fine. The dudes from DC Spark are amazing though. Like, Sebastian is obviously very well known to us. Kornacki is probably underappreciated. Like, Kornacki comes up with some crazy ideas, and by crazy I mean awesome, right? I'm not saying those are negative. I'm not saying that negatively. Robert Kornacki comes up with awesome ideas, like his headless headless dApps idea that he talked about some time ago and hasn't really come up. The headless dApps thing was super interesting, and some of their latest stuff, like their latest thing, they're all about Urbit. I'm not so sure about the Urbit thing. I don't know enough about that, but and obviously Milkomeda is a little bit controversial because they're basically building an Ethereum virtual machine sidechain to the Plutus mainnet. But I think they're super smart dudes, and they'll be successful at whatever they do. Yeah, Ergo is formed by them leaving IHK, so why would the Ergo team be upset to let some guys follow their passion? Yeah, those dudes all seem so nice. It's like, I highly doubt anybody's, I mean, I don't know. I should say I have no idea, but those dudes are so nice. I don't see how you can be pissed at those guys. Okay, are you all in Cardano or spreading the crypto across the pot? And if so, your ratio? I try not to talk too much about that, but suffice it to say, I'm very, very heavily involved in Cardano in terms of percentages. I was involved in I was picking up Bitcoin pretty early. So I definitely hold some Bitcoin, but very involved in Cardano. What other channels do you recommend watching? What channels do you watch? So I think all the Cardano guys are really good. I don't watch the TA guys, but I think all the Cardano guys are really good. There's some old school guys that I used to watch a lot, and they've kind of fallen off for various reasons. But I think all the Cardano guys are really good. I think you watch the Cardano YouTubers. There's nobody who's putting out content that I think sucks. Some of the general crypto guys who try to pretend like they're sort of on Cardano's side, I think those guys kind of suck, but I don't want to call them out because they're not even really a part of our community. So, do you believe in Plan B stock to flow model? I would love to talk about this issue, but I feel like it's too close to investment advice. I would love to talk about this though. Do you think ADA would surpass Solana in TPS? I mean, I think they can do whatever they want with Hydra. I mean, it's trilemma, right? We've got trilemma. We've got speed and scaling. That's one leg of the trilemma. We've got decentralization. We've got security. You can sacrifice decentralization and security as much as you want and get to extremely high TPS levels. So it's all about where you want to be on those spectrums. Like in your layer 2, how little decentralization do you want? What security trade-offs are you willing to make? And probably, I do think there's something to this layerverse concept where even a single blockchain could have many, many layers, and you might have one layer with like a very high degree of sacrifice of decentralization and a very high degree of TPS. You might have another where they don't want to sacrifice decentralization, so it's slower, but it's also a layer 2 that's much faster than L1. So I think they can do whatever they want. I mean, the engineers at IOHK are so talented; they could build whatever they want. And same thing for Solana. Solana's got to decide what it can do. But I mean, Solana, I don't want to talk too much about Solana. I've already talked about them in a video, but I'll be curious when their blockchain is fully fledged and everything is being run. There's no manual stuff going on in the blockchain. I'll be curious to see what that looks like, because it seems like if you ask me how does slashing work with a very high TPS, I have questions. When do you see ADA at $10? Honestly, so I actually do have a viewpoint on this, but I don't feel like the predictive value of my viewpoint is enough to be communicating it to anybody else. So because I don't believe the predictive value of anybody's opinion on this question is very high. So that's why I don't talk about price, because I don't think anybody knows. Dude, you weren't that brave with my last question. Maybe this one. We had a problem with the CF and Parsons. Your thoughts on Emergo? Is there a problem? Are they underperforming? Be brave. So usually when people are talking about Emergo, they're really just talking about Yoroi. And I think there will be mini wallets. I think there will be mini wallets over the history of Cardano. We already know that IOHK is going to work on a Mithril-based wallet, which will be a light wallet like Yoroi, but it'll be trustless. So it could be that Emergo is turning its attention to commercial enterprise, which is kind of the way Emergo's role was always described. Their role was always described as one having to do with commercial enterprise. And we see that with Emergo Trace, their coffee supply chain tracing solution in Indonesia with the Sumatran Coffee Cooperative. So it could be they're just changing their focus a little bit, or it could be, they just had trouble keeping up with the demand lately. I mean, it's a great problem to have. Your blockchain ecosystem is growing so fast that the light wallet provider can't even keep up in terms of server space or whatever they've been having trouble with. So I don't know. I don't know enough about Emergo's inner workings. I'm sure Sebastian would actually know the answer to this question. So I'll leave it to guys like him to answer that. I'm sure he wouldn't answer that question. He's too nice a guy. Okay, I'll get to this one. I was actually trying to get to this. Did you take a shot of whiskey for Charles? I did. Certainly. I've got my ice has melted because I've been drinking it while I've been talking to you guys, but I've got a whole whiskey right here. That's one giant ice cube. There's not really that much whiskey in there, but yes, there has been some whiskey drinking today for sure. King Geo says, I want some of that Cardano whiskey. I think everybody wants Cardano whiskey. Question, is all this concurrency stuff really false? There's a lot of FUD. I've done like 2 or 3 videos on it now. Like, I think there are multiple solutions to it. Distributed UTXOs, off-chain solutions. And we've had 5 companies come out and say they've got solutions to it. Meld explained their whole solution. Like, read through the Meld paper on it. Look through the Ergo provided their GitHub with their off-chain bot solution. And then I saw some chatter that maybe they had updated their solution to something that was more decentralized. So I don't know exactly where Ergo's at, but obviously Ergo already had an answer because Ergo Dex is a thing. So I think people have solutions. I don't know how fast the implementation is going to take. I don't know whether that stuff we're going to see ASAP or whether it takes a while. So timeline, I don't know. But I think it really is exactly what people like Manuel Chakravarti have painted it as this whole time. Like, the people who actually really deeply understand EUTXO architecture are just like, look, this is a totally different type of blockchain architecture. If developers come in and they try to build this the same way they would an account balance system, yeah, they're going to run into huge challenges. And it's not going to go well for them. But if they actually try to think about EUTXO for what it is and try to come up with novel solutions, which is what novel technology requires, right? It's like, if you're trying to figure out, if you're the horse master and you're trying to build out a guidance and control system for a car and it's built on reins, that car is going to suck. you gotta figure out how to build the steering wheel. We're talking about cars now, So I think there's a little bit of that going on. Why are we all Satoshi? France. Are you from France? Are you in France right now? Okay. Okay, let's see what else. So another topic that came up in Charles' little SPO chat, Charles mentioned that NFTs are being used heavily for money laundering right now because there's no KYC with NFTs and you can self-deal, as in you could sell an NFT to yourself or someone associated with you and claim the profits just as wild NFT profits. What do you guys think? What's your gut feeling? Do you guys think there's a lot of money laundering going on in the NFT scene right now? Okay, would you consider, Jake Master says, definitely. Yep. It seemed when Charles said that, it made sense to me. Would you consider reviewing proposals coming up on Project Catalyst? Dude that used to do it is MIA. You know who did it originally? Back in Catalyst Fund 3, it was Patrick from NFTmaker.io. He went through every single Catalyst Fund 3 project and actually read them in a YouTube video. I don't know if, I think that would bore you all to death if I did that. So it probably won't be me. Yeah, this argument kind of won me over. Art is big for laundering as is. Yeah, I think Jankmaster is correct here. I think objects like art have always been big for money laundering. Jimbo Jones says 100%. Also, a lot of wash trading going on, boosting prices of certain collections. Yep. That one that's probably underappreciated. How much that is probably occurring. People make really funny political comments in the chat, and I don't put them on the screen just because I know it'll be polarizing, but I do appreciate the humor. People are making price comments. Liam, wow, sci-fi mode. Yes, we're in sci-fi mode. I don't know. I talked about it on the channel. Masari published those charts, and I showed it on the channel. I don't know what the exact percentage is, so I can't testify as to the percent. But we went over in the channel. I showed the chart. It's I actually showed that to friends of mine who were trying to talk to me about Solana. Friends of mine who don't watch this channel, who hadn't seen those charts, and I showed them that chart, and they were it silenced them. It silenced them for sure. There was another dude. He had a 2-minute countdown clock. Sophie pool operator. I think it's Sophie. I don't even know. I don't even know that pool. I don't even know who that pool is. Is this going to be a regular thing with the AOS? Could be good every now and then to hash out some ADA stuff. Do you mean live streams? Yeah, I thought Alonzo was worth a live stream. Also, it's 180 videos. My goal is kind of always to get to 180 videos. Originally, it was actually 150, and then at 150, we were within a month. We were obviously within a month of Alonzo, so I carried it out all the way to Alonzo. But we'll do it. If people find value in it, we'll do it. If they don't, we won't. Wondering if there will be a clapback from the SEC and IRS regarding all the potential laundering, considering traceable nature of blockchain. I would expect investigations to bear fruit. Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing with the SEC and all of Treasury, not just IRS, but all of Treasury, is that they are immensely understaffed. I think if they were heavily staffed, they would be doing all kinds of horrible stuff to crypto right now that we would all hate. So I think if they had the staff for it, they'd be all over us. Polsky OCE, I find value in it. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. People are talking about the price. Like I do pay attention to price. I don't talk about it for the reasons we've discussed in this video. But man, I've been in crypto now for almost a decade, and I've been through so many heavy dips and all the buy the rumor, sell the news phenomenons, like so many different times. It's like none of it surprised me anymore. I'm just like, yeah, of course, Do you have a small DApp idea you'd like to see? Yeah, I'd like to see the Army of Spies marketplace for obscure information. I'd love to see what that becomes, or I'd like to use that architecture for maybe that and other things. So yeah, I'd love to see that. Any real-fi projects that interest you besides World Mobile? I don't know. Name a few. Name what are the real-fi projects you're thinking of? So this is kind of interesting. Eventually, artificial intelligence can be used to backtrack on all transactions. I don't know if you're talking about the same thing I'm thinking of, but there's always been this notion in crypto that eventually analysis of crypto transactions would get good enough. Especially using things like sort of like the equivalent of social engineering almost, but we would be able to figure out who owns every single address, and we'd be able to track basically all of the crypto that was tainted by criminal activity. We'd be able to track it back to who owned those eventually. If that's what you're talking about, then yeah, that's been something people have talked about in crypto for a long time, and yeah, it's possible. Okay. Gaike Wima, did you see the chess NFT? It wasn't very good, but they're already pretty dynamic NFTs. Something with planets look cool too. No, I haven't seen the chess NFTs. Are they actually are you actually able to play chess with them? I would like to. I'd be interested to see this. Any kind of functional NFT. I'm very interested in functional NFTs. So anything like that. Something with planets look cool too. I did see some chatter online about some kind of planet-based, some kind of astronomy-based NFTs, and I didn't understand. I haven't looked into it enough to really understand what it is. Revuto. So Revuto, if I'm remembering right, Revuto is the Croatian project that has to do with using crypto for better management of subscriptions of all type. I noticed, if I'm thinking of the right project, apologies if I'm screwing up, if I'm confusing Revuto with somebody else, but I thought it was interesting that they recently said they're going to start, it sounded like they were going to start funding other projects. Like they're going to be doing a little bit of almost like a VC function. I thought that was super interesting. But that was definitely one of the projects. If it's the one I'm thinking of, the subscription management thing, I thought that was an interesting use case for sure. This is Brody. What do you envision? Brody and the other Brody. I think it was Brody and the other Brody had a super hilarious little thread in the comments the other day. It was like an all Brody thread, which is super hilarious. What do you envision happening to the fintech banking sector over the next few years as better systems like Cardano begin to take the reins out of the hands of the banks? I think it's a classic disruption story. I mean, this is the horse masters having to encounter automobiles. I think the revolving door in financial regulation in the developed world is very much a thing. I won't speak for governments outside of North America, but definitely in North America, the revolving door between the regulators and the financial space is very much a real thing. And it's one of those deals, it's not illogical, right? It's like if you're a big financial if you're a big financial sector company and you want to hire the very best person to deal with the SEC, it kind of makes sense that you would hire ex-SEC people, right? It sort of makes sense. So, I mean, the revolving door is not, it's not illogical. It makes sense why it exists, but it's not a good look, right? It's not a good look at all. So I think there are big problems with the way we regulate the existing financial sector. And it won't be a surprise to me if they make it as hard as possible on crypto now that crypto is big enough for them to care about. TB asked, said they're a new subscriber or new viewer. How often do you do live chats? The very first live chat. Bryce Christie said 2 million VC fund. I think that's in reference to Revuto. That's cool. I think it's cool. I think anybody investing in our space, I think that's awesome. Good for them. Good for us. Good for us as Cardano that they're willing to put their money into Cardano. That's fantastic. Okay, what else we got here? Cardano Tells is a free to play blockchain RPG that will implement CNFT. I don't know anything about Cardano Tells. I would love to learn more. I'd love to learn more about that. What's your Fave project in ADA ecosystem? I talked about this earlier. I think I don't know anything about the coins, right? So I'm not talking about the coins or anybody investing in any particular project. But as far as the mission of the project, I love World Mobile. I love their mission. Is it possible that ADA could become the main currency for most of the countries on the African continent? Man, if that were to happen, I mean, it would be one of the greatest. It'd be great, one of the greatest technological and commercial feats in the history of the modern world. You know, if a single blockchain were to dominate the entire currency scene on the African continent, that would be amazing. I think that's very ambitious. I'm not holding my breath for that one. I think if we picked up a couple of countries, if we picked up one country, I'll be happy if one country somehow starts using ADA as a currency. I'll be totally happy. Probably more like, I mean, I'll be happy if one country launches their own digital currency as a token running on the Cardano blockchain. I'll be happy with that. But if they actually use ADA as their main currency, I mean, this is some crazy stuff we're talking about here. I would love that. Jed, TB says Jed. Yeah, Jed is a very, that tri-coin system is really interesting. I did a video on that. It's super interesting. If you don't understand the mechanics of Jed and those tri-coin stablecoin systems, it's really interesting. I'd say check that out. I've done at least 2 videos where I talk about that. Okay. Sam Martin says a blockchain address scrambler must be created to allow a person to maintain blockchain address privacy. This way, the actual address and destination end up being unknown beyond the scrambler. So we always had tumblers, even back when I originally got into crypto. We kind of always had tumblers that people would use. I never used one. If any Department of Justice people are watching this, I never used any tumblers. But a lot of the early tumblers, technology was developed that we were all told, at least, could look through the tumbler. So I know some of the earlier tumbler technology kind of fell under suspicion as not being resistant to the latest tools. Okay, so this is Jank Master. I won't talk about the price implications of that. Okay, this is an interesting topic. Do you know about proof of history, how it works? So here's the important thing I would say. So proof of history is an internal timekeeping mechanism. It basically creates consensus around when events occurred. But I think the important question to ask is, what is the actual consensus mechanism of Solana? And according to the reading I've done of documents in the Solana documents, it looks like proof of history is sort of an add-on to their consensus mechanism. And when I read their documents, they talk a lot about Casper and slashing. And proof of history may be a way for them to create consensus around when events occurred, but it looks to me like their consensus mechanism is actually Casper with slashing. Glenn says, I like the format. Maybe every now and then a live vid would be cool. That's kind of how I feel. I think every now and then when we have a lot to talk about, it'd be cool. It would probably get boring if we did this every time. But every now and then might make sense. Good call, Glenn. Okay, Adam says, your best video so far was one when Ethereum was punching itself in the face during the boxing match. It made me laugh pretty hard. I feel like that's what Ethereum has done. I feel like Ethereum has punched itself in the face repeatedly. Okay. Yep, I believe this is the correct answer to that question. The question was, do we know who did the first smart contract on Cardano? Magnus Red says yes, 5 binaries. Yep, that's the answer I saw. Thank you. I could not remember the exact name of the group, but it was 5 binaries. Thank you, Magnus Red. Not sure if you discussed this earlier as I just got in. Do you think privacy coins are going to disappear over time, i.e. it will be regulated out of existence? Yeah, so this has been a topic that has been discussed in crypto basically as long as privacy coins have existed. Yeah, I think it's gonna be hard for privacy coins because the call to arms for regulators is always money laundering. So privacy coins, I think they're gonna have a hard time. What's the timeline? I don't know, but I think they're gonna have a hard time. Arthur, hello from the UK. Hey, Arthur, how's it going? Do you think Ethereum 2.0 will need second layers like Harmony or Polygon to scale at the level of Cardano? I think Vitalik came out and said that they already need to push NFTs to layer 2. I think all blockchains are going to need L2s in order to scale. Yeah, I think they're all going to need L2s. I think most underrated feature of Cardano is Babel fees. Being able to pay for USDC transactions with USDC will allow mainstream adoption. What you think? So, I mean, USDC is a particular coin that runs on particular blockchains. I don't think it would necessarily be USDC, but I think Babel fees are awesome. Yeah, I did a whole video on Babel fees. I think they're awesome. What I think is really interesting, so Babel fees are supposed to go to basically the SPOs would be paying the fees for those transactions in ADA and accepting the tokens as replacement for the ADA they paid themselves for those transactions. What I think is really interesting is what if an SPO distributed those Babel fee tokens out to their delegators? What if they gave those Babel fees to their delegators? If we had a whole bunch of tokens being circulated on the Cardano blockchain, being in a pool like that would kind of be like having this like constant influx of a varied distribution of coins, kind of like an S&P 500 of all the tokens in the Cardano ecosystem. I think that would be really interesting. I think somebody will do that. I used to bring this up and a lot of SPOs did not like it. The answer I got quite frequently was, no, those are ours. Those coins are ours. We're not going to give those to the delegators. But I think with all the NFT airdrops to delegators we've seen, I think it's inevitable that once we have Babel fees, I think somebody will start giving the Babel fees out to their delegators. And I think that'll be a really interesting situation. Gaike, you think a lot of projects will migrate to Cardano from Ethereum, but why didn't they already migrate to Avalanche or Solana? Not scalable enough, or question of the size of the community? So I think Solana has multiple different genres of decentralization questions around it. Avalanche, I don't really know. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Emin Gun Sirer, one of the founders of Avalanche, along with some of his grad students who actually invented the Avalanche protocol. It's actually a really interesting protocol. It's very different. It's a very different protocol than I think the rest of proof of stake. I don't think I can comment. I haven't looked enough into migration to Avalanche or Solana. I know about it in general terms, but I haven't actually looked at the data quantitatively. So I hesitate to comment because I think sort of my anecdotal understanding of the size of that migration might be misleading. You balance informative with careful too well to be a novice to the space. Which field were you in to learn all this? I cannot answer that question. Anime Buoy says no Fibonacci analysis. No, I mean, I know everybody was expecting to come in here and just see me in front of a whiteboard doing Fibonaccios, but no Fibonaccios. No Fibonaccios today. Okay. Okay, what is this? Is crypto.com US compliant enough, do you think? They have KYC, right? Is that enough of what may come out? I don't know. I haven't looked close enough at crypto.com to really know. I know of them, but I haven't looked at what they're doing in terms of KYC stuff. Hello from India. Hello back. Hope you're having a great day. Daike says it's morning here. Yeah, I think it's morning for I think it's morning for a lot of the people in the Army Spies when these videos go live. Usually the normal time. I think a lot of people are listening over coffee and things like that, which is great. I'm super grateful that the channel can kind of be a part of that for people. Your room looks like Cardano City. You should have a big Daedalus icon behind you. I actually had to hide a bunch of stuff from you guys. There's a bunch of stuff that you would normally be able to see behind me, and I had to hide it from you guys because it was too indicative of certain things about me. Somebody's accusing me of having illegal stuff going on in this room. No, actually, I knew people would think that, but no, there's nothing illegal. I'm very law-abiding. I don't have anything illegal like that going on in my life. Christopher held Night Owls. Night Owls always, man. Yeah, Christopher understands this Night Owl thing for sure. Okay, here's a good one. CryptoLogic, what sort of security products do you use to protect your wallet and exchange accounts from being hacked? So I don't keep anything on exchanges because my exchange account was attacked. It was hacked back in the day. I had a small amount of Bitcoin on Bitfinex back in my trading days, back in like 2014, 2015, 2016, somewhere right in there. I could be off a year or two, but there's a big Bitfinex hack, and I actually lost an amount of Bitcoin because they socialized the losses. Not all accounts on Bitfinex got hacked, but apparently they socialized the losses across all of our accounts, because otherwise it would be just like certain people got wiped out and certain people got off scot-free. So they just like distributed the losses across all accounts. And I lost a decent amount of Bitcoin. Eventually they repaid us. First they gave us like this coin, their own coin. That was like a BFX coin, and it represented the right to get repaid or something. Don't take my word exactly, but this is my recollection. It's been a while now. So they gave us this coin, and eventually they paid us back, but they paid us back at the value. If I remember correctly, I could be wrong, but my recollection is they paid us back at the value of the Bitcoin at the time we lost it, but Bitcoin had gone up significantly enough since then. So the amount of Bitcoin we were repaid was the dollar value of the Bitcoin at the time we lost it. So we didn't actually refresh the amount of Bitcoin we lost. So I don't keep any crypto at all on exchanges. I mean, very de minimis amounts. And I use a ledger. I use a ledger to protect my my actual holdings. There is a link down below, an affiliate link, which means I would earn a small commission, but there's an affiliate link down below for a ledger. I highly recommend hardware wallets though. Whatever you do, use some kind of hardware wallet. If you hate ledgers, use a Trezor or something else, but use a hardware wallet. Exchanges are safer in 2021 though. Yeah, probably. We said that in 2015 or whatever that was too though. We were like, it's not like Mt. Gox. We thought they were safer then too. But yeah, I'm sure they are safer. I'm sure they are safer now. Homie too buff to be Vitalik. I'm definitely. I think you're talking about me. If you're talking about me, I'm definitely not Vitalik. Vitalik has a certain way of speaking. I can't really do a Vitalik impression, but he's kind of like, I really think that we can't have chimeric ledgers in crypto because he kind of talks like that. I'm definitely not Vitalik. I actually have a lot of respect for Vitalik. I think he's a very smart guy. So I've definitely done some CCTV footage of Vitalik before, where I seem to be kind of making fun of him, but it's all in good fun. I actually have a lot of respect for him and his intellect. You mean vitamin? Yeah, vitamin. Sorry, vitamin. I should have said vitamin. Christopher is saying, I use a ledger, also easy to use. Definitely use a hardware wallet. Don't trust exchanges. SIM swap your coin. Okay. Yeah, no. Yeah, I agree. SIM swaps everything. There's so many different attacks. Definitely use a hardware wallet. Do you think people just sold the news? Are we in trouble? I don't know. I can't. I'm not licensed to give financial advice, so I can't give you any financial advice on that. Do you think Vitalik holds ADA? Do I think Vitamin holds ADA? I would love it. I would love it if it secretly came out that Vitamin was a card. If it turned out that Vitamin was a Cardano holder and he was like, circulating around like Cardano Twitter or something, I would love it. Like that would make my year if it turned out that Vitamin had a bunch of ADA. But I don't think so. I mean, I think you could say that he and Charles have both probably grown past whatever enmity there was between them, but I think it's probably still way too much to think that Vitamin could be holding ADA. I would love it though, Pablo. I'm gonna think about this in my mind. I'm gonna like fantasize about like a scenario where Vitamin comes out and says he's like a huge Cardano holder and he recognizes that it's better technology or something. That's pretty awesome. Oh, Nikki has a pretty funny comment. Nikki says he bought a bunch during the ICO for planned dumps. That would be very interesting. Some of you guys post the funniest stuff, and I don't want to put it on the screen because I know it'll be too polarizing. But I do appreciate how funny some of these comments are. Crypto Logic says Charles and Metallic are extremely smart, but one of the big differences is Charles has great social skills. You can see it in the Lex interviews. Yeah, Charles is like a one-man marketing machine. I mean, IWHK has very good communication stuff going on. Like Tim Harrison and those guys do a great job. But Charles, there is something about those AMAs. People aren't going to really understand what that dude has done until it's all over. It's like they say that about great musicians, but truly, like, people aren't going to understand what this dude has done until this whole thing is like long over. Okay. In Charles we trust. Christopher Held. Yep. I agree, man. I mean, a crazy billionaire who's not out to make the short buck. It's like, how can you not love that? Eat gas fees to go buy ADA for vitamin. That's pretty funny. I actually respect Vitamin, the way he his sort of intellectual framework. I feel like he's working with he's trying to build on very difficult foundations. I respect his intellectual approach to things, but I think he's building on very difficult foundations. Basically, I mean, global state. How do you scale with global state? How do you institute sharding with global state? Like, these are very complicated questions. People are talking about vitamins now, which is super hilarious. Which smart contract tokens are you looking into? Da Vinci pool. You know, all the ones that seem to get the most attention are the DeFi ones, and I have a certain viewpoint on the regulatory challenges that DeFi is going to encounter. So that makes it difficult for me to get like super serious about the smart contract tokens that seem to be getting a large amount of attention. I'm really looking forward to non-DeFi dApps. I'm super excited to see non-DeFi dApps, to be honest with you. How many people do you think the SEC has to focus on crypto? I think most people in crypto would be shocked at how few people at the SEC, how few people get to spend such a small percentage of their time on crypto. Like, the financial industry is big and it keeps them very busy. And I think they get a certain amount of pressure from influential figures in the legislative branch and other branches to do certain things about crypto. I think they get, there's certain sort of like informal mandates to make certain things happen occasionally. I think stuff like that, there's pressure like that. But I think all of us in crypto would probably be pretty surprised at how few resources the SEC can devote to crypto, to be honest with you. I think if they could devote more to crypto, we'd be in trouble. Like, I think it's to our benefit that they don't have the resources to devote to crypto. Because I think if they did, they would be shutting down a lot more projects, to be honest with you. Cyberprompt says, laugh out loud, never saw a live stream. Let's go. Yeah, this is the first live stream I've ever done. I apologize. This is the first one. It's probably very amateurish compared to the ones you guys are used to watching, but this is the first one I've ever done. What is your favorite DEX at the moment? I'm not paying too much attention to the DeFi space because I'm worried about the regulatory challenges they're going to encounter. Christopher Held is going back to work. Thank you, Christopher, for dropping in. I appreciate it. What are your thoughts on the relationship of Ergo and Cardano? So it's really interesting to me. I think it's impressive what high regard people hold Alex Chirpanoy in. Obviously, when you've got people of the caliber that talk so well of him, it's obvious to me that the dude has a lot to contribute. It's really interesting to me, though. I never thought like there'd be this like the most prominent sister chain of Cardano would be a proof of work chain. Like that kind of shocked me when I first realized what Ergo was. I was kind of shocked. It makes sense though. I mean, if extended UTXO is the intellectual descendant of Bitcoin, the original UTXO chain, then it makes sense to me that someone would create an EUTXO proof of work chain. What dApp do you want to see most on Cardano, Roskill? I'd like to see a dApp that involves real world stuff. I'd like to see like a fun dApp that involves real world stuff. Like I'd like to see that Pokemon Go moment where all of a sudden people are, and I'm not talking about like a light augmented reality game, but just anything where my mother is asking me about whether or not she should engage with it, right? Like something that mainstream. I'd like to see that moment. So I'd like to see a dApp like that has this kind of like real world IRL utility that is so undeniable that a broad spectrum of the public want to engage with the dApp. That's what I'd like to see. This is pretty funny. Guy cases. If you want to understand the SEC, just talk to your grandfather about crypto. I wish that was less real. That's super hilarious and probably way closer to the truth than I would like. There are some really smart people at the SEC. Like there are very, very smart people who go to work at the SEC, but they're so busy. They are so busy with Wall Street. Like Wall Street keeps them busy. And I don't think they have a lot of time. I would say Hester Pierce knows a thing or two about crypto, but the SEC as an institution, yeah, I mean, they're pretty old-fashioned. I mean, there's some old-fashioned thinking going on there for sure. Although Gensler, I mean, the head of the SEC, taught crypto classes at MIT. He understands crypto, and Hester Pierce seems to understand crypto, but they're kept pretty busy, I think, with Wall Street. And all the small time security stuff. There's a lot of small security stuff going on in the US too. I don't understand why you conceal your identity. We're supposed to trust and believe you shilling ADA. No, I'm not trying to convince anybody by ADA. I'm just talking about ADA. Enough people have adopted ADA. I'm not trying to convince anybody to adopt ADA or anything like that. But definitely, I'm going to keep concealing my identity. There's nothing I hope to gain that would require my revealing my identity or anything like that. My marketing professor gets red in the face whenever we bring up crypto. He's a grandfather, pretty sure. I can believe that. Somebody says stop buying ADA, so there's more for me. I feel that. People are making fun of Unseen Jordan. They're saying Unseen Jordan asking EOS why he remains unseen. That's pretty funny. Dovanatos Pavard Dennis says, "Oh my God, I overslept. Had a bit much celebration. Why? Thanks. Yeah, this is my concealed identity look. Laugh out loud. The ADA community is already the biggest in crypto. Yeah, we have a really big, really healthy community. It's kind of awesome. It's an awesome community. I mean, it's like it's gonna get gigantic, and I think we're gonna look back on this era as like the golden era in crypto when you'd go on like crypto Twitter and like you see the same people over and over again. I feel like I know a bunch of people from Cardano social media. I feel like I know them because we watch their videos, we see their comments on Twitter. Like, I feel like I know something about them, but I've never met these people. It's cool. It's very like healthy and tight, and like we're all kind of in it together. And I mean, let's face it, there's some altruistic things we'd all like to see happen. So it's a good community. Looking like PUBG. Oh, cool. Okay. Okay, I'm good with that. Player unknown. He's talking about player unknown. Uh, he's the younger brother of Charles. Not, I'm not the younger brother of Charles. Um, okay. He's the son of Jamie Dimon. That's pretty funny. Jamie Dimon's son. Who was it? Somebody had some kind of a tweet with Jamie Dimon's son, which is super hilarious. There's Paul. He says, "What's up, Army Spies? Great to catch up. Great to catch you live. Appreciate the consistent Cardano updates and insights. Thanks, Paul. I appreciate your content as well." Okay. How old are you? I am old. Guys. I'm very old. You can kind of figure that out if you watch some of the previous videos where I talked about some of my like first exposure to programming. You can kind of figure that stuff out. But I'm old. Let's just leave it at that. Is that a welding mask? No, not a welding mask. Are you Peter Schiff's son? Maybe I was thinking of the Peter Schiff thing. I knew it was somebody's son. Somebody in some crypto Twitter personality had a tweet where they were like having lunch with somebody's son who was like very anti-crypto. I can't remember. I thought I was thinking it was Jamie Dimon's son, but maybe it was Peter Schiff's son I was thinking of. Adam says he liked Paul's chat the other day about Ergo. So if you're interested in Ergo, looks like Paul has some good content on Ergo. Let's see, what does it say? Dude, where do you see yourself in the future? Would you accept a DApp advisor position? Do you want to start a new Cardano entity, company, organization? Would you ever work for IOG, Cardano Foundation, Emergo? No, I think I'd want to build something novel. I'd want to build something. I think about what's going to work for a company, like working for one of those companies you cited would be like a dream. But I think I'm kind of past that point where I'd want to work for any other company. Even if I think if you were going to work for a company, you could have a very fulfilling career with any of those organizations, probably a lot more organizations in Cardano. But I think I'm probably at a point where I've definitely had a very full professional career, and I think I'm probably past the point where I'd go to work for a company, or I go to work for a company. King Geo says, "Bro, your helmet reminds me of Halo Reach Emil. Laugh out loud." Yeah, a few people have said that. Also use Authenticator 2FA instead of SMS where it is possible. Yes, SimSwap attack, guys. Use an authenticator. I think I've used both Google Authenticator and Authy. But yeah, the authenticators seem to be better than SMS because of SimSwap attacks. If your password can be reset by SMS, that is probably not going to work out for you in the long run. Will the US ever tokenize the dollar on Cardano? The Fed seems to be involved with the MIT blockchain lab. So it may be, and I'm just speculating here. I don't have any inside information on this at all, but I'm just speculating. It may be that Algorand, with its deep MIT connections, has more of an inside line. So okay, let's see what we got here. Any recommendations for being more productive? Any good software like Notion to organize yourself? Perhaps good routine, get up early. What's your secret making so many videos without stop? So I think this is going to be very non-satisfying, but I think the secret to productivity is setting yourself to something you actually care about. If you tell yourself, I'm going to do X thing and I'm going to be so disciplined, it's really only going to work out if you actually want that thing. It's definitely the desire thing. I think, God, there's a really good quote, but if I tell you the quote and who it's from, it'll give you a little too much information. But definitely, it's got to be something you actually want. If you actually want it, if you set yourself on something you actually want, then the productivity part is easy. So I think you got to pick stuff that you actually care about. And that's kind of hard. Convincing yourself to actually go after the stuff that you actually care about is kind of the hard part. It's really easy to do what everybody else wants you to do, and you end up laboring at something you don't actually care about, and then your productivity is going to suck because you don't care about it. You're just doing it because everybody tells you that's what you're supposed to be doing. I think you actually got to go after stuff that you care about. Do your thoughts about Nervos Network? Love the Cardano content. I don't know. I remember when the first Nervos news came out, I kind of covered it in a video, but I haven't really followed up, so I don't know too much about Nervos, to be honest. Any thoughts or advice for those new to the crypto scene? Being new to the crypto scene is not it's not an easy place to be. There's a steep learning curve there, man. I would say do a lot of research. I don't know if there's really a substitute for just consuming so much information over the course of years and years and years. It's a rough place to be, and there's a steep learning curve. So I would say be very careful. Think about the lobster trap thing. If you're sending your crypto to anyone, you gotta be super careful. A lot of times it looks like a nice cozy cave for the lobster, and he gets in there, and it turns out it's a lobster trap, and he gets hoisted aboard a fishing ship by some lobstermen, and you never see him again. So be real careful. It's really easy to get swindled in crypto. It's really easy to not get swindled, but just invest in nonsense projects. So be real careful, man. Steep learning curve. And how many years do you think smart contracts going to change the world in a way? I don't know. I think back when smart contracts first hit with Ethereum, a lot of people would have said by 2021 we would already be there. So I don't know. Adoption is a weird thing. I think people do some interesting stuff. If you look at some of the projections that Raoul Pal makes about crypto adoption, I think some of that stuff is interesting to think about in terms of smart contract adoption as well. We need a Clash of Clans type of Cardano game. I think Cardano game would be good. Charles talked a lot about Cardano games on the little Alonzo after party cast today. Check that out. He talked quite a bit about it. Somebody says, God, I hate those ads. The Clash of Clan ads, I think you're talking about, quite Yeah, they were everywhere. They were everywhere for a long time. Maybe they still are. Let's see. Unreal announcement at the Cardano Summit. Yeah, and that same little Alonzo live after the IOHK watch party, that little live cast thing. Yeah, Charles said they were working with Unreal 5 for Crypto Bison. So that should be interesting. I'm really curious to see how far along they are. I hope they're really far along, but we'll see. Cardano Crustacean Legends. I like that. I like that. Kind of a lobster base game. Not a question, but just wanted to say, I wish there were more like you in the crypto YouTube space. The kids saying Cardano is going to be 100, etc. is so annoying. Laugh out loud. Yeah, I think the baseless projections about price are ridiculous. I mean, they're really just pushing the dopamine buttons, right? They know that certain parts of people's brains are going to light up when they talk about $100 Cardano or $30 Cardano or $10 Cardano. And so they just get good. They practice getting good at pushing those buttons in the viewers' brains. And I mean, that's what a lot of entertainment is, but it's definitely gets into a weird territory with the crypto thing. It gets a little weird. I don't know that it's entirely healthy. Do you dabble in the stock market or just crypto market? I'm just in crypto right now. I wish this is one of those times where I wish I could tell you some things, but I'm just in crypto. The average lobster untrapped will live 20 years longer than the average human. They will live less than 20 seconds if I get around them with some butter and a fork. But I've heard about their longevity. Minus being near me, I've heard about their longevity. I think it's awesome. This scares me. I hope that's not true. I hope that's not true because they are delicious. Do I think we'll have a decentralized social media that will replace Facebook, etc.? I hope so. I hope we do. Do you know what is going on at the IOHK landing page? It looks awesome. I haven't looked at it recently. They used to have some really cool graphical presentations on the page that interact with your cursor. I haven't seen the new stuff. If there's new stuff I haven't seen it, I'll check it out probably tonight. Cockatoos can live over 100 years in captivity. I've heard about that. I've not known personally, but I've known of families that had birds, either cockatoos or something similar, that lived for like many generations of the family, and the younger generations were just like, when will it die? when will the bird die? Because they live so long. No, we will have lab grown lobsters. I'd be okay with that. I'd be okay with lab grown lobsters. King Geo makes a good point. He says, with this U.S. inflation, maybe, I think he's referring to the $2,000 lobster. Yeah, I mean, that's all possible. Besides your channel, any recommendations to get high quality Cardano content, your favorite? I like all the Cardano YouTubers. I don't really watch the TA guys, but I think Jack's content is good. I mean, how can you not love a dude making videos out of his mom's basement and like openly talking about it? I think Paul does really good stuff. Check out if you want to know about Cardano metaverse stuff. Check out Paul's interview with the Cornucopias guys. If you're interested at all in the metaverse game type stuff, check out that one. That's a great interview. I honestly though I can't really say anything bad about any of the Big Pay. I think Big Pay does great interviews. He asks all the right questions in those interviews. There's really good commentators on Twitter. I'm kind of shocked at how good some of the analysis stuff, not like technical analysis, but just analysis of fundamental things going on in the ecosystem is on Twitter. I know I'm leaving out a ton of the YouTubers, but I can't really say anything bad about any of the Cardano YouTubers. They're all pretty good. I don't watch any TA stuff, but I think they're all actually pretty good. It's amazing how lobsters come up and it just like completely derails everything. I've noticed this like across platforms. If lobsters come up, everybody wants to talk about lobsters, and I don't know if it's just because they're such an intriguing animal or if it's because they're so delicious or both. But whenever lobsters come up, people really want to talk about lobsters. Nikki says Ada Ape and Cardano will. Yep, very good content on Twitter, I think. Any way to track the lobster name race? I don't know. I haven't I didn't really look at the Plutus code on that contract. But actually I hadn't even thought about it, but actually I'm interested now. I'll actually go look at the code. I'm not saying I will understand it well enough to answer that question, but it does make me want to look at the code behind that contract. Just I'm curious about how it works. Any idea when we will be able to invest in DC Spark? I don't really know anything about investing in any project, or at least for regulatory purposes. That's what I'm going to say right now. But I actually don't know anything about investing in DC Spark. The world is lobster. Yep. Vidimon says, just now waking up and sitting back with my Kona and digging your gear, man. Will you reveal yourself when you hit 1 million subscribers? No, I will not. No, I will not. Thank you for watching since day one, but I will not reveal myself. Never. Difference between crayfish and lobster. Purposefully swaying away. Okay, at least we're moving on to a different crustacean. Crayfish. So we use that word differently globally, right? Because in North America, if you say crayfish, what you're talking about is the same as what we call crawdads, which are these very small. They're like, they can be like this long. Some of them can be bigger, but they can be like very, very small, little lobster-looking creatures that live in fresh water and can live very, very far inland and in the mountains and all that kind of stuff. But I know in Australia, crayfish are these big, delicious things that look more like, I think, what we would call like rock lobster. So I think the Australian crayfish is a very different thing, and they're in like the ocean. And I think they have a name for the things we call crayfish. I think they call them like, what do you guys? There's a bunch of you guys from Australia. I know in the comments. What do you guys call them? Yabbies, yabbies. The things we call crayfish. And lobsters are obviously these big ocean things. In North America, we associate them with like Maine, and they're like gigantic and delicious. Mantis shrimp are badass. I believe I have actually eaten mantis. They are badass. I didn't realize how cool they were and how powerful their little claw was when I ate them one time recently when I was abroad. So I ate them and I had no idea what it was. It was just this very weird looking thing on my plate that was good, but I had no idea what an interesting creature it was because I'd never heard of them before. And they've gotten quite a bit of press for their powerful claw over the last couple of years on the internet. Yabbies. Account support says yabbies. I believe what you guys call by that name is what we call crayfish in the US, and what you guys call crayfish for us would be a type of lobster. Sebastian says, hello, Spies Army. I appreciate your work, mate. Thank you so much. I appreciate you saying that. CryptoLogic says, I don't know what you call them. I just eat them. I'm good at that. Yep, I agree. Somebody's asking a price question. I never answer the price questions. I actually have thoughts on price, but I'm not allowed to, do anything that would venture towards financial or investment advice. So the Commodore Amiga had rock lobster etched on its circuit board. Awesome. Does anyone here eat puffer fish? Puffer fish. Those are the ones that are poison, right? I think there's like a special. Is that the one? Am I thinking of the wrong fish? Is that the one? There's a special preparation for it in Japan to not kill yourself. I believe I've watched people eat this online and prepare it online, but I have never eaten it myself. Fugu, yeah, fugu. Not legal here, but I would. Yeah, fugu. Whisper ate a price prediction. Sea urchin. Sea urchin is uni, right? That's uni. Uni I have had. I've had like uni that Nikki says you have to be licensed to serve it in Japan. Yep, that I knew about. Uni, I believe sea urchin is uni. I've had uni. It's kind of funny. I had a lot of not great uni, and then I have had some really, really good uni. UK Jonata says, go to bed. I need to get some work done. What scares you most about crypto Cardano future? Ooh, what scares you most about it? I don't think I definitely kind of see it as inevitable. Honestly, here's what scares me the most about it. I was gonna say, somebody said Army Composite Cult said Army of Seafood live stream. I do love seafood. What scares me most? I was gonna say regulatory challenges, but honestly, what scares me most is the scenario where crypto or Cardano are so successful. You go down this this train of thought, right? It's like if crypto is very successful, and at first we all know that Cardano has plans to be like very KYC-able, right? Because they've sort of accepted that it's inevitable there's going to be KYC in crypto, and I think they're wise to accept that because that is the way it's going to be. But long term, if crypto is successful, you kind of have to ask the question, like, that will make it much harder if sort of like free crypto without KYC and all that kind of stuff is successful. If it creeps in, I think we will go through a phase where where everything will be heavily KYC'd. But if we go through if we get through that phase and free crypto still exists, like eventually people will figure out that they can transact on crypto blockchains, and it's going to be very difficult for nation states to tax them. If nation states cannot tax commercial activity, it's very hard for them to fund their own activities. So it's like there's this train of thought, like, if crypto is very successful, is it possible for nation states to continue to exist the way they do now? Maybe that's the scariest thing. And people have different feelings on that. Either it's wonderful or extremely scary, but it's either way, it would definitely be a huge change. Jangmaster says digital yuan or CBDC controlled by authoritarian regimes. That one's scary. Yep, that one's very scary. Joshua Sang says AOS. Hey, Joshua. Account Support says, what scares you most about lobsters? Not being able to eat them. Them being $2,000 and then me not being able to eat them. Ish says, good night, guys. Good night. Fast Pass Gone By says, my son won a goldfish at a fair when he was 5. It lived 9 years and grew to 9. That sounds like a nightmare. That sounds like a nightmare, having a goldfish that hangs around for like a decade. If you want to stay anonymous, do you have a pseudonym we can use for you? Perhaps Mineral? This is pretty hilarious. If anybody just joined, we were joking about somebody on somebody on Twitter the other day referring to Vitalik as a vitamin. I wish I had the tweet in front of me, but it was like vitamin. It was like, hey, I just sold my coin. I had $700 of a coin. No, I had $200 of a coin, and I sold it for $700. And it cost me $700 in gas fees. Vitamin, fix the broken each theorems now, or something like that. But no, I don't have a pseudonym. I do not have a pseudonym. Lightning Network versus ADA. I don't know. I think Bitcoin scalability is they just move too slow, right? I think Bitcoin development like moves way too slow for them to keep pace. So I think it's gonna be really hard. I think it's gonna be really hard for Bitcoin to stay relevant as something other than a very, very slow moving asset. So we'll see, but it seems like the development in Bitcoin it just takes so long to get anything done. Sebastian says, he's talking about Daft Punk. Is okay. Lobster vitamin. That's pretty funny. Is Yoroi a good wallet compared to Ledger? You can actually use your Yoroi with your Ledger. So your Ledger, you need a user interface to use with your Ledger for Cardano. And Yoroi is one of those possible interfaces. You could also use Daedalus, but you can actually use your Yoroi. You can use Yoroi as your user interface while your ADA actually remains on your Ledger hardware wallet. So you can actually use them at the same time. Do you think we will ever see Cardano versus VeChain? It's really interesting with the sort of change in government policy in mainland China toward crypto. It's hard for me to see too far in the future for VeChain, to be honest with you. I just don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Okay. The plan for Cardano was to eventually diverge from being chained to BTC price. What do you think it'll take to achieve this? So I think there's a couple of things. There are a couple of things. So we've got the crypto space as a whole. I think the way you have to think about this is there's this corpus of people who are involved with crypto, and the vast majority of them are not like us on this little live stream. The vast majority of them are not researching any coin to this level. You know what I mean? I mean, you've got people like, I have people hit me up in real life all the time, and they're like, hey, I'm just going to throw like, X amount of money. It's always like some small amount of money or sometimes a big amount of money into like the following. And they'll name like 8 coins. And I'm like, why those? And they're just like, I just kind of like, looked at CMC, and those were the names that I kind of recognized. Those are like the biggest names that I hear people talking about. So I'm just investing in those. So you've got a ton of that going on. I think until crypto reaches more of the mainstream consciousness, you're going to have a lot of people doing that kind of stuff. And as long as that's the case, we won't have that sort of disengagement of single projects from the rest of the crypto space. What's even more like almost insidious to me is the connection between equity assets in the crypto space. You know, what's scary to me, I don't worry as much about BTC taking a dive and it taking everything with it. What I worry about is the equity asset space taking a dive and that impacting crypto. Glenn Thomas says, I'm the same age, bro. Yep, I believe Glenn and I are pretty close to the same age. Why do you publish your videos anonymously? Why do you publish your videos anonymously? Because I don't want it to be about me. I don't want this channel to be about me. And there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff I would love to talk about that doesn't have to do with Cardano. But I think it's better for the channel if it remains focused on Cardano. And like the only way to do that is to not be a known person, just to be anonymous. Because if I was on video without concealing my identity, you guys would definitely figure out who I am, and then there'd be too much of a, I think for most people there's too much of a paper trail. You guys would figure out a million different things about me, and we'd end up talking about it, and we wouldn't be focused on Cardano. So that's the main reason why. Let's see. Okay, voting for president, this is Joshua. Voting for president is interesting with Cardano, but I don't know how to achieve it with a permissionless blockchain like Cardano. Do you know about Atala Prism, Joshua? So Cardano has some digital identity solutions like Atala Prism, and they can establish a sort of, pretty much any blockchain can do this. They could establish a cryptographic key identity for each voter, and then they could vote with that cryptographic key. I don't know about the inner workings of Atala Prism, how it works exactly, but Atala Prism also establishes a digital identity for people who do a number of things, including voting. So I think it'll work. Look into Atala Prism. There'll be a bunch of stuff about Atala Prism on the website for Atala Prism. Michael Wallace says, there are big problems with blockchain and electronic voting. Yeah, I agree. The way we currently vote in blockchains, this would be a big change. I don't think it's the kind of deal where we could just, I don't think Atala Prism is the kind of building block we could just, insert into our current voting system. It would be a complete overhaul of our voting system. Jang Master points out that we could achieve perfectly auditable elections with current methods. I'm sure that's true. Okay. Okay. Shifty 1050 says just subbed. Great content, man. Thank you. Thank you for subscribing. I appreciate that. So let's see, where was that? So is the Cardano smart contract working? They are working. Yep, they are working right now. Earlier we looked at the We looked at a block explorer, which showed the very first smart contract, which was deployed earlier today. And within the first like 30 minutes, there were 47 different smart contracts deployed on the Cardano blockchain. What do you think about flash loans on Cardano? My understanding is, and I haven't looked at this in a while, but my understanding is that there are some there are some obstacles to flash loans due to EU TXO architecture, and the consensus from people when they looked at that was good, because I think flash loans are intellectually interesting to me, but I'm not sure what they do actually. I'm not sure what they do actually creates that much utility, for us as a community, and they definitely create a decent amount of chaos. So I think we're okay without flash loans. I think we'll be okay without flash loans. But I haven't looked at that in a long time, so I might have incomplete information about that one. Do I have a public-facing email address via which subscribers can PM you? Yeah, feel free to hit me. You can hit me on Twitter or Reddit. Twitter's probably the easiest one. If you want to reach me via email, you can reach me at armyofspiesblack@gmail.com. That's me. There's also another email address, which is armyofspieswhite@gmail.com. And that is the other person who is involved in the Army of Spies DApp project. But I am armyofspiesblack@gmail.com. Let's see. Sam Martin says, I worked in a sea urchin processing facility in Alaska. Do you hate sea urchin now? Do you hate most people? I know a few people have worked in facilities that processed various different types of food like that, and a decent number of them came out hating whatever the type of food was. How do you hate uni now? Okay, guys, we have gone for 3 hours now, I believe. I think we will probably wrap it up. Are there any last questions? Any last questions? Atarax Audio says, do you think there are any crypto projects that threaten Cardano aside from the standard competition? Yeah, I think if somebody comes along and does it better, anybody could be a threat to Cardano. I mean, I think that's the way innovation works. But nobody really jumps to mind right now that I think is going to come in and like dominate Cardano or anything like that. Oh, thanks. People are saying really nice things about the stream. I appreciate that. I know it's probably a very amateurish stream, but it was the first one. So if we do it again, we'll do an even better job. Quantum computing versus crypto. Charles has addressed this a few different times. I think we'll just build quantum resistant algorithms. When quantum computing becomes a real threat to crypto, we'll just build quantum resistant algorithms. So I think we'll be okay. I used to worry about that a lot, actually, but I think we'll be okay. The stream was great. Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. I appreciate you all so much for jumping on. We'll probably do this again sometime. If people found value in it, we'll do it again sometime. But I really appreciate everybody coming out and participating. I didn't think we would have nearly this many people. I thought we'd have like a 10th this many people on the live stream. So I really appreciate you all coming out. I hope everybody enjoyed today. I think it really was a historic day for Cardano, and I hope we'll have many more. All right. Thanks so much, guys. Talk to you next time.